Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
You ever watch a movie with your kid or as a kid, and then you want to share that movie experience with your kids? Or maybe there's like this restaurant, cool place that you used to go to when you lived in this town you want to share with your family, or ever like have something bad happen to you and you want it to happen to others, maybe people you know, maybe people you don't like, maybe people you do like. That's kind of how I feel about this whole Nick Saban retiring thing, because I really wanted Texas and Oklahoma to feel our SEC, the SEC that A&M had to go through the last 10 years, a couple years, or 12 years, I should say. It was like in our day, Michael Jordan, like when people won championships after Jordan, you didn't have to go through the Jordan years, or the AFC East. You didn't have to go through Tom Brady and the Patriots. And by the way, we will probably talk Bill Belichick at some point, Mike Tyson, until he got knocked out by Buster Douglas. Like, if you didn't go against that heavyweight division, you didn't really go through it. So now Texas and Oklahoma in its expanded playoff are going to get to do SEC football without the GOAT that we had to go through for a long, long time. And we'll talk about it. That's Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of morning by going to texags.com/coffee. It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Olin Buchanan with me, our Heisman Trophy voter. Buddy, no product in your hair today. Looks good.
Really? I put some in. Maybe I just didn't put enough.
Well, now
and I think I need a haircut. But anyway, I don't mean to be argumentative.
You could be argumentative. I don't care.
Texas and Oklahoma didn't even register to me. I don't care.
Yep.
It's still a more difficult situation for them getting in the SEC, and they know that. As Texas A&M, I am glad to see Nick Saban moving on. It's like, the witch is dead. The wicked witch is dead. I'm glad he's not dead, by the way, but I'm glad he's not going to be coaching at Alabama, because Alabama is still one of the teams you have to beat, and a team you haven't been able to beat very often. And
but it's happening on the year you don't get them.
Yeah, I don't care. If you want to win the championship, there's a good chance you'd play for a championship against Alabama.
Yep.
I'm just glad that that's just one. Excuse me, one more enormous obstacle that A&M will not have to climb over as they try to become a championship caliber team.
Yeah. By the way, I agree with everything you said, but I still want Texas and Oklahoma to have gone through the because regardless, the SEC will never be the same. The GOAT is gone.
Yeah, but it's like it's not like Alabama was terrible before Nick Saban. Now they
had a stretch.
Yeah, they went through a stretch, especially when Mike Shula was the coach. But they won a national championship with Gene Stallings. I mean they've had, and they're not going to fall off the face of the earth and all of a sudden be Mississippi State. It's not going to happen. So are they going to be as good? Probably not. But to me, that benefits A&M.
Yeah, there's a benefit to A&M, no doubt.
I guess, I've said this before. Texas and Oklahoma, especially, they don't matter to me. I've been trying to fry bigger fish for 12 years, right? A&M had to play LSU and Alabama and Auburn and all those teams for that. That's who mattered. Now that Texas and Oklahoma are coming in, fine, but we've been already trying to climb Everest, and now they just knocked the peak off. So it just becomes a little bit easier for A&M to. Is it easier for Texas and Oklahoma as it would have been? Yeah. But it's also easier for A&M.
I guess it goes back to me seeing social media, right? It plays a part of my thinking of like, I can already see what they're saying. This is the SEC you guys talked about, this level, but it doesn't matter. Let's make this about Nick Saban, how A&M can benefit from this. Pete Fiutak, who we're going to have on the show a little bit later on today at around 9 o'clock, he had this tweet yesterday. It caught my attention. Alabama lost 18 games over 13 years under Nick Saban. 18 games over 13 years. Okay? How many games did A&M lose the last 2 years?
Over the last 2 years, what is it, 13?
Yeah. Four went on to win national championship anyway. 3 national championships, 2 college football semis to the national championship, 2 2022 walk-offs, 1 Hugh Freeze went to the CFP, 1 in 2019 to LSU, 1 the Kick Six, 1 the Sugar Bowl after the Kick Six, 1
Johnny Manziel, 1 2023 Texas, and 1 2019 Auburn with no Tua. Yeah. No, so a coach that's able to put together that kind of string of success, unprecedented.
Yeah.
And he's no longer going to be there at one of the teams that you have to beat one way or another, is moved on. I think from the A&M perspective, from a college football perspective, globally, college football, okay, man, what a terrible loss. From A&M perspective, great, because a thorn has been removed from your side. Now, does that mean that, like I said, that Texas and Oklahoma will benefit? Yeah, probably, but A&M will benefit too. So whatever benefits A&M, because you're going to have to beat those derelicts anyway.
Yeah.
So plus the whole Alabama, I have all kinds of thoughts on this, but just the whole Alabama superiority thing, can you imagine the people of the population of Alabama, at least 3/4 of it, how they're kind of panicking? They won't ever admit it, but like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna, Saban's moving on. Oh, what's going to happen? Oh, we don't want to go back to the Mike Shula years when Auburn won something like 7 of 8 years or something. Oh, can't have that again.
Well, let's talk about the why and why now.
Oh, okay.
I think we all saw this. I was surprised by the news yesterday. I was. But I wasn't surprised it was coming soon. Like,
we all.
Right? Like, I mean, he's 72, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's coming. But it's what people have been saying the last 24, 36 months. College football's changing, right? Mm-hmm. And it's exhausting. And it takes the old breed don't like it. I don't think he likes it. And he was sending these warning shots for a long time, like, guys, this is what I see, and I'll do it really well, but I don't like what it's doing to the game. It's always been a 12-month job. Now it's a more intense 12-month job.
Here's what I think. I go back to like 2012, 2013, when he was all upset about Johnny Manziel and the A&M offense. He said, is this what we want college football to be? Well, he couldn't stop it. So he said, okay, I'm going to adjust, and I'm going to bring in Lane Kiffin, and I'm going to be that. And he had success with it. Then A&M got the number 1 recruiting class, and he's like, look how they're buying players, which they weren't, but look at it. And so, hey, guys, I need you to do that. Okay, we can do that as a fan. But then it got to where players can transfer.
Yep.
Right away. And it became somewhat of a bidding war a lot of times. And I think he's looking at it and says, first of all, like you said, that's tiring. But I can't outbid. Oh, we can win a lot, but I can't consistently outbid Texas.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, who Michigan, Ohio State. There's a Notre Dame. When it gets to the point where I can't, because the paying is no longer shady, and when it was shady, I might have had an advantage. when it gets to the point that I can't control it, why even bother with it? Because I'm going to develop guys, and nobody's done a better job developing talent.
Nobody.
I'm going to develop guys so they can go play for somebody else and beat me. I just don't like the as Nick Saban said. I've had it with what college football's become. I'm just going to ride off into the sunset, get on my yacht, and
do
enjoy
ESPN College Game Day or something.
Yeah.
Do you okay, first off, this is not the perfect walk-off for Nick because winning a championship for him would have been the perfect one. But it's pretty damn close. You're an overtime loss in the playoffs, a team that people thought was going to maybe lose 4 or 5 games this year.
Yeah, and could have, except what they do. He's such a brilliant coach.
Yep.
Again, we were here with a coach that's going to just beat his head against the wall and don't understand why he's not knocking it down. Yeah, there was a coach that said, we got a quarterback that can run, but he can't throw except deep balls. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to change our offense. Tells his offensive coordinator, go change the offense, take advantage of what he can do, and
evolve.
Voila.
Yep.
Imagine that. Imagine tailoring your offense to what your talent does best. So he did. And that's, I think, the brilliance of Nick Saban is that he would, like you said, word evolve. He would adapt to the situation.
I love to hate him. And that's maybe from a college football fan standpoint. Like, I didn't like Alabama. I didn't like him per se, but he was good for the game. He was great for the game. He wasn't a villain per se. He became a villain to A&M, A, because they won a lot, and B, the Jimbo fiasco. But at the end of the day, like, I think college football's better with Nick Saban in it than without.
Well, I think college football, I hear that people say stuff like, college football's fine. How many times you ever heard, man, college football's better when Notre Dame's good? Really? Because for 3 decades, they were pretty average and college football soared, right? And somebody else will just make it great. But what if Jim Harbaugh leaves and goes to the NFL too? God, you talk about some huge losses in college football. But I actually admire. Well, I think we all admired Nick Saban. People hated him the way you hate the rich guy that has made a fortune and
had his own
envy it.
TV show and it became
and you envy it.
Yeah,
right. But my disdain for Alabama has never been about Nick Saban or the program. It's about a fan base that is completely unhinged.
Let's think about this, OB. This morning, Bill Belichick announced it's announced that he's going to be let go. Nick Saban and Pete Carroll, who's not on that same pecking order, but this is
he was at one point.
At one point, and one of the very few to win a Super Bowl and a national championship. Yeah. Like, that's in the last not even 24 hours.
Imagine if Pete Carroll would just give the ball to Marshawn Lynch.
In the Rose Bowl?
No, I'm talking about in the Super Bowl.
On
the 1 yard line.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
How much different he'd be looking at.
What was the name of the halfback he didn't give the ball to with Reggie Bush's running mate?
Oh, he did give it to.
He gave it to you. Yeah,
he gave it to Lindell White.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah. Just some legends. And I think Pete Carroll's a legend, not in the same vein as Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, who are the best at their profession, but all on the same day.
The difference is Pete Carroll, almost like Howard Schnellenberger. Howard Schnellenberger would be one of the biggest names in coaching had he never left Miami. Mm-hmm. Pete Carroll had it rolling at USC, and if he stayed there, he probably would have 4 or 5 national champions as a college coach. He had 2, right?
Yeah.
Probably would have had 4 or 5 if he'd stayed there, but he left.
And then won a Super Bowl.
But Belichick has accumulated multiple championships, 6 Super Bowls, because he was in the NFL that long.
Yeah.
Saban, 6, 7 national championships because all but 2 years of his career was in college, so.
Interestingly, though, I think the shine of some of these legends, they're still considered the GOATs, if you will. But there's been a little bit of the shine on Belichick and Popovich that has come off.
Well, yeah. I think in basketball, especially the NBA, I don't even think coaching matters.
Yep.
I remember when Phil Jackson was with the Lakers, and they had a guy. I mean, was with maybe it was with the Bulls at some with the Zen and all that. And I remember it was Nick Van Exel. Do you remember that guy? He said,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, let's see how that Zen blank works with the Clippers.
Yeah. I do think coaching matters.
I don't.
The year before Phil got to the Lakers, they were a train wreck with Kobe, with Shaq. Like there was, what was it? The first maybe when they did a couple years without Kobe and Shaq. I mean, without Phil Jackson. Am I right about that? In '96ish.
I would have.
But regardless, I do think it matters. But it's also the Phil Jacksons of the world and the Bill Belichicks of the world. By the way, when you have the best of the best.
Well, people say, "Well, dismiss Belichick because with Tom Brady." And I'm thinking, how many great coaches, Hall of Fame coaches, won championships with terrible quarterbacks? Now, I don't think Brian Billick is a Hall of Fame coach. Now, he won it with Trent Dilfer.
Right.
But Tom Landry had Roger Staubach. Chuck Noll had Terry Bradshaw. Bill Walsh had
Joe Montana.
So Don Shula had Bob Greasy. So to dismiss him because, well, you had Tom Brady. Well, then you have to dismiss every coach.
Right.
The fact of the matter is he had Tom Brady and was able to maximize what he had to work with.
If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150, or you can text us on that same number, 979-693-1150. If you do call us, we'll pick it up on the Brian Foley Law hotline. Let's do this. Let's check in and go behind the glass and say hello to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
Nothing. I was in the same boat as y'all. Everyone I think was expecting that news to come down eventually, within the next couple of years, but not yesterday. So pretty surprising. But the biggest, I guess, or craziest stat, note that came out yesterday was actually from Josh Pate on he did a little emergency podcast, and he said that every 4-year class at Alabama won a national championship. And so I went back and looked at that, and 2009 was his first, 11, 12, 15, 17, and 2020. I guess that would not really count the end of his tenure here, but, I mean, that's insane to think. If you're a player that started at Alabama and you stayed 4 years, you won a national championship under Saban. So that's pretty impressive.
It's time for the Alkalites. Started going, right? The Alcoholics, all the weird names we can come up with.
The Alcoholics, it's... but regardless of who is coaching against you, you've got to build a championship caliber program, Mike Elko. But once again, this means you don't necessarily have to scale Everest. Maybe you just have to scale Kilimanjaro.
Yeah. Let's check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. That's where we find Matthew Dawson. We haven't had somebody at the Social Center in a while. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, David.
How are you?
I, like Olin, I'm very excited that Nick Saban's gone. My dad is an Alabama fan, so I am gladly showing him the door, like, hey, here it is. Here's what it's going to look like. But I'm excited for that. We're getting a lot of text messages about who's going to be the next candidate for Nick Saban. Everyone's talking about it. Did Olin have any thoughts on that?
Well, I was actually going to talk about that in the next segment. We'll go through some of the ripple effects as well, because I do think it's funny. I've seen Jimbo's name pop up a few times. I don't think he's the candidate. I don't think, but stranger things have happened. What about some other news out there? What else do we have, Matthew?
Well, we got a gigantic Lady Aggie basketball game tonight against LSU, number 7 in the country. LSU, number 1 offense in the country in terms of points scored per game. A&M is actually number 2 in the country in allowing points per 100 possessions. So it's going to be kind of a clash of styles, if you will. Hopefully we can slow down that LSU offense.
Let's go, Joni Taylor.
Yeah, talk about scaling Everest. It's another. But you know what? Last year, with all the issues A&M had last year at Reed Arena, they damn near beat LSU.
Yeah. Mulkey is probably one of those. Is she getting closer to that GOAT list? Like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Oriam, I mean.
Well, I mean, Ariama's at the top of that list. And
Pat Summitt and then Mulkey? I don't know what.
Probably.
Yeah.
She's won national championships.
Has she
at
won
2 places.
3? No.
Well, it's just Dawn Staley.
Dawn Staley, yeah, of course.
But she's won, I think she won 3 national championships at Baylor.
Was it 3 or 2? Might have been 3. You might be right.
I think she won 3. I could be wrong on that, but I think she won 3 at Baylor. And now she's already won one at LSU. I mean, she's won it at 2 different places. That's remarkable. And you don't have to like her. It's kind of like Nick Saban, but you got to acknowledge the greatness.
You know, some of the best coaches aren't the friendliest of people.
Yeah. Some of the bad ones aren't either. But,
no, this is true. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. We'll kind of go through the ripple effects, go through the candidates, and see how this opens up the door for Texas A&M. So, you know, I'm going somewhere weird with this.
I know you are.
Yeah. Retirement party.
Yeah.
You know, they're inviting everybody. Sark, you come. Lane, I want you to join me. Jimbo, come on. Who else would be invited to Saban's retirement party?
Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart. Let's do it. Former players will come. D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico, just right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody. And let's meet at a place where we can get full and celebrate, break bread, and break some brisket.
I would suggest Fargo's.
Is that what you would do?
Yes, that's what I would suggest, especially depending on the day. If it was a Tuesday or a Saturday, I'd highly recommend it for the rib tips. But like, what if they did it today and you want some pork chops? And maybe you want them either fried or you can have them grilled. You could have, if D'Amico likes them grilled and Jimbo likes them fried, everybody wins. Just like that group of coaches.
Yeah.
Almost everybody wins. And
if they wanted to bring all their best offensive linemen throughout the years and they have a big appetite, they'd probably get full.
They could. Well, you know what? You'd probably get full today on that pork chop and the macaroni and cheese.
Did you know that they're at 1701 South Texas Avenue in
I didn't know
Bryant?
that. I didn't know
Did you?
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me follow up that question then. Did you know that they're the best barbecue in town?
Actually, I knew that they were the best barbecue in Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which means, because if you're the best in Texas with barbecue, you're the best in the world.
Yeah. Did you know that's their trademark?
Well, it's true.
Yeah, it's Fargo's. It is TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looks so good with Maroon U. I'm David Nuño. He's Olin Buchanan. All right, so we started the show with the Nick Saban news. Let's talk about the ripple effects. One of those has going to affect, in a positive way, we hope, Texas A&M. The first one is they got to figure out who their head coach is going to be, all while the portal now opens up immediately for 30 days for their players, is my understanding.
You know what? I have to admit, I don't know all the rules about. There's so many rules with the portal. So if a coach leaves, the portal opens up. Third. Okay, interesting.
So a lot of those guys
may be looking to move out.
Now, what I think is brilliant what Nick Saban did by waiting till after signing day. I also think it's kind of unless those players knew he was going to retire, right? Because those guys who signed, you think they'll if they want to leave now, will that have to be a transfer, or can they let them out? I guess they could technically let them out, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can, I don't see how you can't say, well, okay, I'm transferring now, because you can actually be on the team and transfer. You know, so why would, I don't know, but why would sign, you signed the letter to be on the team and then you transferred.
Right.
So even if you signed the letter, why couldn't you not transfer?
Well, the transfer portal's closed. You
when
can't enter.
It opens again.
Yeah, but I think some people don't want to lose the one-time
free
exception,
transfer.
right?
But look, does that even apply anymore?
Well, it's not applying right this second.
No, because I've seen guys this year transfer twice.
Well, I forget who. It was a judge, Nick, is that right? That opened it up for right now. They can't for right now, but I think it's supposed to go back to the old rule. Bottom line is players are going to leave, right? There's an interesting wide receiver that's, I think he decommitted yesterday.
He did.
Right? Hopefully A&M's in the mix. I've read A&M. I've read
he's
Auburn.
Supposed to be here this weekend.
Yep. I've read A&M and Auburn being teams that are in the mix. Does Jalen Milroe decide to stay? Does he leave? I guess it all depends on who they end up hiring and how quickly they hire. And if this was in the works for a while, you got to think they probably had a plan already. I don't think like Nick woke up yesterday like, you know what, that's it. I'm done. I'm sure there was press releases already written. There was ideas. There was conversations. Maybe that is why Holman left, right? Maybe that's why Kevin Steele retired. I don't know. I don't know what was shared. But I can't imagine it all happened just yesterday.
Oh, I think Nick Saban probably cares way too much for that program that he's built to just not give Greg Byrne a heads up at some point. Hey, I'm really thinking about retiring, so you might want to start preparing, but let's keep this on the down low, as the kids used to say.
Matthew Dawson, we go back to you there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Please read JW's text message there, just so we can be clear on this.
Sure. Signees have option to be released from LOI. So
they have the option. Okay. Again, these rules, sometimes they apply, sometimes they don't. It's just it's just weird in college football.
Where we are in college football. I know that A&M had a guy a few years ago that signed with them and decided he changed his mind and said, okay. He went to Oklahoma State and A&M played against them this year.
Right.
So it's not like it's never happened.
So let's quickly, before Stephen McGee joins us, talk to these candidates out there. The ones that we're reading. Dan Lanning seems to be the big name, but I know because Billy broke it down for us whenever A&M was looking for a head coach before Elko. Lanning's buyout was ginormous. Lanning, I've seen Sark's name.
Yeah.
I've seen Lane Kiffin's name. I've seen Jimbo's name. Dabo Sweeney might have been a prime candidate a year and a half ago, but he hasn't evolved with college football, and I assume, and he hasn't had 2 good years, right? Who else? Anybody? Kalen DeBoer name. You know the other name I saw this morning?
That?
D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, I don't see that. Just because he went to school at Alabama. He's in the NFL. He's got an NFL job.
Yeah.
And a young quarterback that's good. I'm sure that's on the Alabama wish list, and some of their delusional fans are saying, oh, why wouldn't you come back to Alabama?
Is there any other name I'm missing? Kalen DeBoer, D'Amico, Dabo, Dan Lanning, Sark, Lane.
Those are all the names. See, I think they would love to get Sarkisian. I think they would love that. But like I just said earlier, if I'm Sarkisian,
I got it all at Texas.
I've got a fan base, a NIL situation where we're going to pay whatever it takes.
And Nick is retired?
Why
would I go to Alabama? Yeah.
You know, who wants to follow Nick Saban? You remember who followed Bear Bryant?
Remind me.
Of course you don't. Think of Ray Perkins?
Yeah.
You know.
Do you remember who followed Michael Jordan the first time?
Who followed Michael Jordan?
Mm-hmm. When he retired.
You mean the coach?
No, the guard. The guard who took over.
I have no idea.
Ron Myers.
Okay. You know who Phil Bingston is?
Oh, Mr. Banks.
Yeah, Phil Bingston.
No, who's that?
He was the coach, the Green Bay Packers coach who followed Vince Lombardi.
Oh.
What we're getting
Do you know who followed Tom Landry?
Unfortunately, that worked, or fortunately, that worked out. You know who followed Bobby Bowden? By the way, there's a huge difference right there, though. You talk about Nick Saban. Well, he didn't go out perfectly because they didn't win the championship. How many great coaches, legendary coaches, stayed around too long, and then when they left, I don't want to say their reputation was tarnished because you still think of Bobby Bowden as a tremendous coach.
But it wasn't as high.
Well, they were winning like 7 games a year for 3 years at the end, something around that, 3 out of 4.
Not the same. Obviously not the same. Much higher shine.
Paterno?
But Belichick, a little bit these last few years has looked bad although he did make the playoffs with Mac Jones that one year.
Yeah, I was going to say different because in college football, the coach is able to recruit his team. In the NFL, you pick.
Yep.
And when you're picking at the end of the drafts for so many years.
Think about some of these legendary coaches or big name coaches that have retired or moved on. What's his name? Jay Wright, excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Coach K.
A lot of it because of the new
age
crazy rules
of college football.
Here's
college sports.
But what's really going to be fascinating is to watch what, like you said, all the domino effect. Who's going to replace Saban, and then what's going to happen with whoever leaves. If it's Lanning somehow leaves Oregon, then who's going to go there? And then you have to throw in the curveball of what if Jim Harbaugh goes to the NFL, and all of a sudden now Michigan is now if Michigan just promotes their offense coordinator, okay, no big deal. But what if the whole rumor about Brian Kelly going to Michigan, and then LSU's looking for
What would Brian Kelly consider Alabama?
I think
I haven't seen his name.
Here's what I believe. I believe if Michigan and Alabama are both open, I believe Brian Kelly, and I don't know, this is just me throwing what I think. I think Brian Kelly would be more apt to go to Michigan.
Yep.
I think he's, that's kind of where he's from area. I think he'd be more comfortable there.
I'm going to read this text before we hit a break. It's kind of funny. Glenn and Brian sends in, OU and TU paid Saban $76 million to go away.
Maybe they did. It's still going to be a really treacherous road for both of them.
Yep.
I've said it before. We said it yesterday, I think. Texas, and no disrespect, hey, Texas did a great job this year.
Yep.
But you were lucky to beat UH. You were damn lucky to beat Kansas State. You struggled in Wyoming, and there was another one in there that they loved. And when you're in the SEC, Saban or not, when you're playing one of those teams and you're playing to that level that you were playing, you're going to lose that game in the SEC, and that's what they don't understand.
Set a break here. When we come back, Stephen McGee in studio. Looking forward to talking to Stephen. If you like to travel, guys, you need to listen up to the Association of Former Students. If you want to see the world with fellow Aggies, the Traveling Aggies program takes Aggies and friends on a once-in-a-lifetime adventure around the world with all the details arranged by trusted travel partners. They need to hook up. Yeah, they need to hook up TexAgs and why don't you do a talk show from this trip? We'd do it every day.
Well, you can do that.
Front Pocket Money. The Association of Former Students invites you to explore possibilities at Traveling Aggies Expo 2025 Showcase, an exclusive event unveiling the 2025 Traveling Aggies trips. The expo is set for Friday, January 26th from 1:30 to 6 p.m. at the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center. Learn about upcoming adventures as each travel partner will host short sessions highlighting their unique destinations. You can also take advantage of special trip savings at the expo. Plus, enjoy a free Messina Hoff, I love those folks, wine tasting, door prizes, and the chance to win grand prize of an Aggie baseball weekend getaway, which includes 2 tickets to an A&M baseball game in the association suite, a 2-night stay at Texas A&M's Hotel and Conference Center, and dinner for 2 at the Vintage House restaurant located at Messina Hoff Estate, and a Messina Hoff wine basket. Sounds like a great one. To learn more and register, visit tx.ag/travelingaggies.
Just satellites. Remember that?
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Time for Stephen McGee in Studio RQB1 from Paragon Financial, our buddy. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Georgia Satellites, I'm not familiar with. Can you sing it a little bit?
I can't sing it, but you remember that song? Gosh, no huggy, no kissy till I get away. Keep your hands to yourself. You don't remember that one? That wasn't popular when you were in school.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Don't give me no line and keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah,
You know,
there you go.
It's
Yes,
good,
you
it's a good
got
tune.
it.
Good tune.
It's the only tune I can remember that
That's
they
on
ever did.
Nuño's workout podcast.
That's on. I have a country playlist that I listen to. It's not your.
That would
kind
be
of
more
country.
Southern rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how many people that I run into in town start talking about Orange Theory?
Oh, yeah?
And your wife is their teacher.
Oh, is that right?
You know,
I
I'm
love her.
surprised.
I've got so many feelers out there trying to get dirt on you, working out,
Yeah.
struggling. Not one's come through yet, though.
I have not gone to Orange Theory since I've been here. I don't work out there.
As crazy as some of those Aggies are, aren't you somewhat surprised that there hasn't been a movement to insist them to change it to maroon theory? Because
It's a
everybody
good
hates
idea.
orange here.
Or we can open up a competitor.
Yeah, maroon
Because
theory.
doesn't Whataburger,
Yeah,
they have to have the maroon
They
Whataburger.
once,
Yeah.
and I remember Bill Byrne talked about how he had people call him up wanting him to get maroon Gatorade coolers.
That's right.
He's
That's
like,
right.
Really, are we at this point?
Why not? So college football changed yesterday quite a bit. Steven, your thoughts on the whole Nick Saban retirement thing?
Oof, the GOAT. I know Aggie fans, I'm sure like we love to hate it, but like I love his presence in college football. I love I don't know, I just for some reason I've always enjoyed following Alabama under Nick Saban. And I get because they're probably a winner and all that stuff, but he's a great football coach. Whether you coach for him and you didn't like him or you didn't, you have to respect him. I think everybody would agree that what he did was remarkable. And this is pure hypothetical, but my belief is that he probably had a couple more years in front of him had the football dynamic as it is today didn't exist. I think that you're going to see a lot of coaches probably move to retirement a little earlier than they otherwise would. It's a lot. I mean, just look at what Mike Elko's having to do. I mean, like, this transfer portal, the haul he's done. It's a full-time job, 365, and I can only imagine it age you and will stress you way more than we could ever imagine.
The weird part is I was surprised that it happened yesterday, but we knew it was coming. It just, I thought after this great year and having his quarterback coming back and an excellent recruiting class, he'd want to go one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some. There were some that theorized that he would coach until he won another national championship.
Mm-hmm.
That had he won a national championship in the last couple of years, he might have retired then. I think Feinbaum is one of those guys that's always said that. But look, like I said, we admire the job. Great coach. He was once had a chance years ago when he was at LSU to make me look bad in a press conference, and he didn't because I forgot the name of his quarterback. and he was really cool about it, actually.
It's the first time you've ever forgotten anyone's name in sports.
Well, there were circumstances, but anyway.
Were you high?
No.
Oh, okay.
I could tell the story and you'd understand, but I won't. But anyway, so I don't think he was as bad a guy as sometimes he's made out to be.
Sure.
In fact, you would see him at press conferences, and he would answer a question, and it was just bizarre because sometimes you would ask him, "Hey, coach, what's wrong with the team?" And he'd go like this. He'd say, "Well, we got these problems, and our quarterback is this, and we need a quarterback that's going to throw the ball more accurately." And quite frankly, he would answer the question. He'd start off fine, but as he thought about it, it seemed like he would get angry. You'd see his everything change about it. But he wasn't. He was not a bad guy. I know he's very demanding as a coach. I've heard other coaches that coach under him talk about that, but. Tremendous talent, and I don't care how good a coach Alabama hires, he ain't going to be as good.
Yeah,
and Alabama's not going to be as good. Yeah. And you know what? I love that.
Who benefits the most? Does Georgia benefit the most? Does A&M? Does Texas? Does everybody? Like who do you think benefits the most?
Auburn.
Touche. Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know that answer yet.
The Big Ten.
Yeah, who can CBS
Pete Lanning.
Yeah.
We're going to pay you this much.
That's going to be an interesting conversation of who do they buy to get to be their next head football coach. And some of these buyouts are pretty steep, right?
Yeah.
What is Texas's coach buyout?
I don't know. I really don't.
The Oregon guy.
It's very high.
30 or 60?
And there's another, it's ridiculous.
Does Belichick enter the conversation?
No.
No, he's too old, and I don't. If you're however old he is, 70-ish, and you've been in college football for a while, and still, I can see you stick, but to be in the NFL and doing things the NFL way for all these years, and all of a sudden I'm going to throw myself into college football at that age, I just don't see it.
So I'm looking at the buyout numbers per Pete Thamel, but I know that there's an extra wrinkle with Dan Lanning. I don't know if it's a Nike thing. I don't know what it is, but according to this, Dan Lanning's buyout $20 million, Kalen DeBoer $12 million, Dabo Sweeney $7.5 million, James Franklin $6 million, Mike Norvell $4 million.
Do you want to be that guy though? No matter how much, especially if you're already getting paid at a high level and you got a good job, like if you're Sarkisian.
Marcus Freeman $4 million. They're saying here too.
Do you want to be that guy that follows Nick Saban? I mean, do you want to be the quarterback that follows Stephen McGee?
Yeah, I do. Right?
Not saying him.
That's a great question, Obi. The bar is high, but if you're the right kind of guy, you want that and you expect to be and win at that level. So
I want to be the coach that followed the coach that followed Nick Saban.
Yeah, true. What do they say in golf courses? It's like the third owner that becomes profitable owning a golf course. The first guy goes under, the second guy buys it out with all these new renovation plans. He goes under, and the third guy now has a profitable plan. Maybe that's the case, but what's the price tag Alabama is going to have to pay one of these coaches? And then does Alabama, I know they carry a pretty big stick, but they don't have near the financials that a school like Texas or A&M
or Oregon or Ohio State or Michigan, I would think. And you know what? Sometimes it works. Sometimes the next coach is better than the previous successful coach. Tom Osborne at Nebraska was better than Bob Devaney.
Right.
And Barry Switzer was better than, I think it was Chuck Fairbanks, right?
Yeah.
But those are the rare occurrences. So even if they do find the money to hire Pete Lanning, or even if they were able to get Sarkisian to leave Texas, I can't imagine that there's not going to be not just a drop-off, but a significant drop-off. And to me, a significant drop-off at Alabama means, oh, God forbid, every 4 or 5 years, you might win 9 games.
Right.
You might go 4 years without a national championship.
Let's hit a break here. We'll come back. I got a buy-sell lease involving Nick Saban for you, and I want to ask you a little bit about A&M tackling the portal. That and more. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. OB's with us. Stephen McGee's with us. Buy, sell, lease. All right? This one's an unfair buy, sell, lease for you guys. I don't know if it'll be that hard. Buy, sell, lease. Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, Bear Bryant.
What are we doing?
Best, the GOAT conversation. But you got to buy
so
one.
we're
sell
intermingling pro with college?
Yeah, just best football coaches is the way I kind of am thinking.
What was the third one?
Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, Bear Bryant.
Oh man, see, I don't know anything about Bear Bryant except that he was tough.
Ain't nothing but a winner.
Ain't nothing but a winner. That's not my that's not my.
Okay, you want me to?
I'm selling that one.
Okay, you want me to change it?
No, that's fair.
Okay.
Golly, I'll probably buy, just in lieu of recent news. I'm probably a little bit biased. I'll buy Saban. I'll lease Belichick just because he had Tom Brady.
Yep.
And Belichick didn't. Well,
hey,
Belichick
he's ready.
He's
ready.
Yeah, I know. Gosh dang it. You go.
But one guy is asked to leave. One guy they wanted him to stay. But there is a difference, at least today, of how that has looked.
I want to buy Bear Bryant because Bear Bryant made Alabama the great job that Nick Saban was able to take over. But because he won championships at two different places, and even I think won a Big Ten championship at
Michigan State.
Oh my God! I'm going to buy Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I am going to lease Bear Bryant, and I'm going to sell Bill Belichick because, and I know this goes against what I said earlier. Bill Belichick won championships with Tom Brady, the best quarterback in the history of the game. He had Bear Bryant. And he won a championship sometimes with nobody quarterbacks. And by the way, some of his championships he won was because people voted. He didn't get to win on the field, which he would have preferred. They didn't win a championship one year because the media was mad at George Wallace, the governor, for taking that stand of trying to keep African Americans from going. So I think Alabama went undefeated that year, and they weren't given the national championship. So there was all these kind of things when you have to count on a bunch of dipstick sports writers to vote to win a championship, which is the dumbest thing ever, but that's what they did. I think, and when you consider that he won a championship at Kentucky.
Yeah.
So, so I will buy Saban, lease Bryant, sell Belichick.
Let me read this text, guys. Good morning, guys. Just tuning in. You have mentioned several times of Brian Kelly leaving LSU. He just hired Missouri's defensive coordinator, got Bo Davis, the defensive line coach from Texas. He has a top 10 recruiting class, has the number one quarterback, wide receiver, and did I say running back, and possibly the best overall class. He seems accomplishing everything he came to LSU. Why leave? Only reason we brought it up is because it's out there.
It's out there. Yeah,
that's it.
Other people have reported that that's a likely scenario.
Or a possible.
Possible. Yeah. That if Harbaugh leaves, supposedly that's the Michigan target if they don't elevate their offensive coordinator, which is what I would do. But
here's one, David Temple. Steve, you can respond to this one. Saban did not retire. He abdicated the throne for one loves of his life, reduced stress, and missed Terry. David Temple.
Yeah.
He retired.
He did. Yeah, I guarantee you, without knowing him, I will put every dollar on the fact that he is tired of NIL and transfer portal and getting players paid and then having to deal with roster turnover. The game has changed. It's like a mini NFL in college football now. You've got to have a GM. You've got to have player personnel. You've got to have guys that are scouting college talent amongst all the college schools. Then you got to have a guy that's doing the recruiting side of it. Then you have to have a joint guy that oversees all the – that's a lot of work.
All right, we got about 15 seconds left. Gerard Johnson and the Texans going to the playoffs. That's awesome. And the Cowboys taking on the Packers, number 2 seed.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, that's
both
two
teams,
things to get you excited.
Both teams that Steve McGee played for.
One a little bit more than the other.
Played in Foster. Love that.
Thank you, sir.
That you're employed by.
Exactly.
Yeah, Gary Kubiak, right? Or am I wrong?
I did. Yeah.
That's what I thought. All right. That's going to do it. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate you.
See you, buddy.
When we come back, Pete Fiutak, college football news. We'll talk more Saban, more A&M, you name it. It's TexAgs Radio. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Going back and forth with Coach Henry, Pat Henry, track and field. A reminder, the new facility does open up Saturday at 2 o'clock. Make sure you go check it out. It is supposed to be awesome. He invited me to go hang out, and I hope I can make it there. We got soccer all over the country, or over the state, I should say, not over the country. So, but let's get into some more college football news from collegefootballnews.com. Pete Fiutak joining us here on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. My buddy, what's up, man? How you been?
So it's hilarious that, like, the whole point of Jimbo Fisher was that you were going to have this guy who was going to set everything in place and get all these things, and you're giving him the long-term contract, play the long game, and understand that it's going to take a few years to get there, and then Nick Saban's going to retire, and then Texas A&M is going to swoop right in and be ready to be the next big thing in the SEC. Let's see if it's Mike Elko now. Let's see if they it's this era is ready to go for the Aggies here. So it's interesting timing in the coaching world right now.
You can't. All right, you don't believe Jimbo's really a candidate for that job, do you?
Oh, for Alabama, no. Having given talks to the good people of the Red Elephants Club in Tuscaloosa, knowing how they roll when they were able to stay awake for my speeches because I just wasn't as entertaining as Lane Kiffin. They love Lane Kiffin. They love Jimbo. They want the next big thing. A guy like Dabo works. But can he really be part of the new era of college football? And can he embrace the transfer portal, embrace NIL? Dan Lanning sounds like a nice idea, but look at what Oregon coaches left Oregon and won. And also, Lanning hasn't actually won anything yet. This is Alabama. You could throw out the name Belichick, even though he's going to Atlanta, and you're not like entirely insane. Pete Carroll, you name the head coach, it's Alabama, and they could probably reasonably have a shot at it. So I would be shocked if Jimbo's a part of this.
Who do you think it ends up being, or who are the 1A, 1B real guys? Is it Lane, even though he's got it rolling there at Ole Miss? Is it Sark potentially?
He does. Yeah, Sark. Any of those guys with the big, the big name, you're not going to get the hot shot assistant. But and look how they got here in the first place. Nick Saban was LSU. He was national champion. You need a guy with the bona fides to be, hey, they're not going to expect this to stop. They're not going to – Alabama fans are in a little denial here to a certain – so they're on two ends of the spectrum. They're either like, oh, dear God, it's all over. We lost our guy. And there's the other side. It's like, why does this have to stop? You're still Alabama. The things are still in place to still win in an expanded college football playoff. You can go 10-2 every year and get in the thing. So – why not keep this all going? So Lanning seems to be the hot guy, but there's a whole, again, he has not won anything. And there's a $20 million buyout, which, look, if Alabama really wants him, whatever, but it's still not couch cushion change. Kiffin has said in the past, why would anybody take this job and, be the guy after Saban? There's no upside to it. But I am a Kiffin apologist. People don't win at Ole Miss. That's the greatest season they've ever had without a national championship. 11 wins. They've never won that before at Ole Miss. It's what he's doing there in terms of being the modern era guy who understands the transfer portal, understands NIL, understands how you've got to keep that pipeline coming. He doesn't get credit for winning at USC when they were on that coma penalty from Reggie Bush. He was great at Florida Atlantic. He had a fine 1 year at Tennessee. He is a great head coach. I think he's really what the Alabama base would go crazy for.
But would he leave, considering all the talent he has? Right?
Yeah. It's Alabama. At the end of the day, coaches. There's no coach who's ever, other than Harbaugh, who's ever going to say, I'm looking for any other gig. So, of course, if the last thing you want to do is go Steve Spurrier and go be like, well, I don't know if this is the place for me. If you're Lane Kiffin and you're trying to sell guys right now, you can never be anything other than, Ole Miss, come here, rah, rah, we're going to win national championships. Because the second you do that, you lose your edge. So, it's Alabama. If Alabama comes calling, Lane Kiffin's absolutely going to take it.
The stat that you tweeted out yesterday, that was amazing. Saban lost 18 games in 13 years. Incredible.
And the part about Saban is, it was the old line with Jack Nicklaus where, he won, 18 majors and he gets praised for that. But it was that he came in second like 22 times, so it was just with Saban, it wasn't just all these national championships. It's you can name when he lost. it either took something, it was either in a national championship or it was in the semifinals to the national champion, or you can name it. It was either Manziel or kick six, or, the game Tua was out, Mac Jones had a bad day. I mean, it was always something historic had to happen for Alabama to lose. So it wasn't just like they were losing to Vanderbilt or had an off day here and there against a Kentucky or something. I mean, it always took something massive. After that one aberration of a 2010 season where they went 10-3, lost to South Carolina, it was pretty good. I mean, you could reasonably look at 4 plays. I know this is not how it works at the SEC. Every team has 4 plays away, but you could reasonably say they were 4 plays away from winning like 9 national championships in the last 13 years. If you really want to stretch it and say, hey, maybe if they caught the right break, you could say there's like 5 or 6 plays that there are 10 they could have won 10 national titles in 13 years. So the consistent excellence is it can't be matched. It can't be in this modern era again.
Talking to Pete Fiutak here on TexAgs Radio. So let's just say Dabo would have had a normal year, a normal Clemson year, not national championship, but like what we've come accustomed to, if not this year, last year. Is he the top candidate in that case? I know the fact that he hasn't evolved, but take it from there.
It can kind of. I mean, because it kind of gets forgotten that if they don't gack against South Carolina 2 years ago, they're in the college football playoff, not Ohio State. And speaking of 4 plays, you can really point to 4 or 5 plays this year where if they almost literally didn't drag a kid off his couch to come kick, they beat Florida State. They fumbled it 12 times or in that loss to Duke to start the season. I mean, they turned out to be all right. And there's something to be said for how Dabo does things. I mean, he doesn't always get all the 5 stars and 4 stars, but the way he's able to do that, work that program, he is the guy. He is Alabama. He obviously went to school there. He coached there for a million years, beat him a couple times. He's got the resume. But again, he's just so anti-modern era. I mean, look at why did they lose those 4 plays? Let's say they get Keon Coleman instead of Florida State because they desperately needed a deep threat receiver. And Clemson's, they're probably the ACC champion. So, if he can make that pivot, if he can sell the idea that, he's still a young guy relatively. He can say, look, I'm going to have to go kicking and screaming, but yes, I'm in. We're gonna do this. Look, Saban always kind of begrudgingly said, with transfer portal, what are you going to do? If Dabo can do that, then he's a better candidate.
All right, so who do you think benefits the most from Nick Saban retiring? Is it A&M? Is it Auburn? Is it Georgia, who's already one of the top dogs, if not the top dog of the SEC? Is it Texas? Is it OU? Is it everybody? It's got to be everyone, because right now it's like Georgia's kind of taken the role that we thought Texas A&M would have had, right, with all the recruiting and all the stepping up. But look, it doesn't make anything worse for an LSU. I mean, Alabama's still going to be great. They're going to hire a great head coach. They're still going to be expected to win the national championship. It's almost like Ohio State losing Urban Meyer. You can keep this going to a certain extent, but they're going to be a little more vulnerable now. They're a little more beatable, and you lose that aura. I mean, the reality was, the Alabama team of 2 years ago, they were okay, but they got the job done. They lost the 2, except for the 2 walk-off games, but that's it. Those Saban teams of the past years wouldn't lose those 2 walk-off games. They wouldn't put themselves in that position. The one that got to the national championship 3 years ago and almost got by Georgia, that team did not have a great regular season. They had to struggle a little bit. I mean, this has not been quite the dominant era like it was when Saban first started kicking. You had a defense where you knew you weren't going to run for 100 yards against this bunch. So but it was just like when you knew when Saban was walking into the stadium, it's Saban. Like Michigan was installed as a 4.5-point favorite after getting into the national championship against Washington. If that was Alabama, the betting public would have been 7.5. It's Alabama. They're going to win this. So you just don't have that aura, but you can still keep the production going. All right, let's play this out. Saban leaves, opens up the door there. Let's just say for this argument, Jim Harbaugh leaves, all right? So you've got
likely
Michigan open, and they may, go with their offense coordinator, but maybe they'll go after Brian. Who knows? Play out that game and how you think play out that game and see how it plays out. That's the worst English ever, but you know what I mean. Who ends up at Michigan? Who ends up at Bama? And then what does that open up other places?
Yeah, it's so. Is there a domino effect happening here? And everyone, the thing about it is, once you start getting into the internet rumors, everyone kind of assumes that every fan base assumes they can get anybody they want. And it was always the running gag with Texas. So like, oh, we'll just go get a Harbaugh, any Harbaugh. We'll get Mike Tomlin, because who doesn't want to be at Texas? And then they would get Charlie Strong or someone like that. And it just, but in Alabama, you really can pull out a name. So I do think at the immediate moment, the clubhouse leader is probably Dan Lanning. I mean, he's already, talking. It already kind of makes sense. He's got the SEC guy, young guy. You're going to grow into the gig. But he also might be that bridge guy who is the Ron Zook in all this compared to, or Bill O'Brien, when then you get the guy. But I still wouldn't be shocked by any big name coming in. If Harbaugh does, the thing about Harbaugh, though, is are they going to get hammered? I mean, because if you're saying if he's going to be out for next year, or they're going to suspend him, or the NCAA is going to come up with something, that changes the narrative. But with Harbaugh, he talks. His agent talks. They've always been open about looking around for other gigs. So if it's the Raiders, maybe. If it's the Bears, no, because they just kept Eberflus. So I kind of think he's not the sure thing to leave. He just likes talking to finding out what his options are. But let's say you said play it out. Yeah, Sharon Moore would probably be the next one up, and just try to keep everything that Harbaugh put in place going. And then if it's Lanning to Alabama, I think if you're these other power programs and it's Dan Lanning going to Alabama, you're like, all right, fine. If they get Dabo, it's like, uh-oh. And if they get Lane Kiffin, it's really uh-oh. So I think there's a certain level there, but you never know until you get a guy into this situation. I was telling my friend the other day, like, I remember, reading the Sports Illustrated article back in the day when Alabama's getting Nick Saban, and they're oh, here it comes. We're gonna have the dynasty now. And yeah, whatever. I mean, they're gonna be fine. I mean, you never quite know until you get the guy in and realize what he can do with something like this.
Lane goes to Bama. Jimbo goes to Ole Miss. Bam, there you go.
You think you got all worked out?
No, I think Jimbo's gonna take his time. Let's talk about Pete Carroll. Like, does he come back? Does he go somewhere in the NFL? Does he maybe try to go back to college?
What we can't gauge is just how, what 72 feels like. Like, Pete Carroll's a young 72. He doesn't act his age. He's as energetic as anybody, and it's legit. I mean, he is not there's nothing about him that's not, full bore all the time. That is who Pete Carroll is. And yeah, if you're a big time program, don't you at least think about taking the shot? Because think about all the stuff that he got in trouble for at USC. That's now the norm. I mean, that's how you're supposed to do things now. I would guess he would get another pro gig, because at 72, do you really want to start calling kids again all the time and dealing with 16 and 17-year-olds? You'd rather probably go take the Washington job, or the Washington Commanders job, or something where you just step in, you deal with grown men, and you're just coaching again. So I would doubt that. And I'm not ruling out the idea that Saban's done. I mean, because what's Saban going to do? Go on McAfee now? Is he going to be the new Aaron Rodgers? I mean, if you're Saban, this is what you do. I mean, 72 is still relatively young in the world at the moment. So I'm not 1,000% sold that Saban's completely done.
All right, I know Michigan just won the national championship, so when I asked this, I recognized the moment. But how close in your eyes is the Big Ten to passing the SEC from a perception standpoint? Are they that close? I know they won the championship, but I still think people look at the SEC as the top dog.
There's two ways to look at this. On the field, yeah, but what's kind of not being talked about yet, and it's going to be a big thing relatively soon, is it's not the Big Ten. First of all, everybody's like, oh, no, it's just going to be the Big Ten, the SEC going forward. Well, what do you think it is now? It's the Big One. The SEC teams aren't going to make the money the Big Ten teams are. It's kind of been lost that Big Ten programs, maybe not Oregon and Washington right out of the gate because they're being factored in now. Big Ten teams are going to start making $30 to $50 million, maybe more than just about everyone else, including a lot of these SEC teams. So this griping you're seeing happening with Florida State right now, just wait. Wait what happens with Texas A&M's making $65 million a year, $75 million a year in media rights, and Ohio State's making 105. There's going to be a competitive disadvantage when it comes to just flat revenue. And money's never going to be an issue with Texas A&M or Alabama or Georgia. But you could argue, on the field, it's always going to be Big Ten and SEC going forward, especially with the 4 Pac-12 teams coming in. Yeah, the Big Ten is they're going to get their 3 or 4 to 5 teams in the new playoffs. SEC is going to get their 3 or 4 teams in, and whatever. They're still all competitive. They're still all fine. But yeah, I mean, they're there. I mean, because who's the number 3 team this year? Ole Miss. They beat Penn State, so that was kind of one of those marking moments. Right. But yeah, the Big Ten can. But in terms of revenue, in terms of business, Big Ten's crushed. I still contend the SEC blew it when it came to expansion. So I look what the Big Ten's doing revenue wise and business wise. They're killing it.
All right, here's one for you. Established coaches in the SEC that have a job, okay? Established. Like Elko's new. We have to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Established coaches. What is the pecking order? Kirby, Lane, Eli? Like, give me kind of the pecking order in your eyes.
Wow, yeah. Josh Heupel probably is it crazy that he's 3rd?
Is he
right
3rd?
now? I mean, because like over Eli, I mean, like Tennessee kind of did it a couple of years ago, and he was already great at UCF. You're right. I mean, it's a tough one because it's Kirby and kind of everyone else. I mean, where does Hugh Freeze, kicking this, even though he hasn't done it really at Auburn yet? Yeah, I guess you're right. I should have blanked that. But Kelly, the greatest, the winningest head coach of all time at Notre Dame, I guess I would kind of put him 2 right now, right? I mean, so you put him 2. Kiffin's got to be 3-ish or so, and then kind of a drop off, right? Because then it's you're talking Heupel, you're talking Drinkwitz, you're talking. Who are we missing here? It was obvious. How about Stoops? I mean, he doesn't have the big giant wins, but he's been steady enough I know nobody wanted him at Texas A&M, but he's been rock steady for a Kentucky program that didn't really do anything before he got there. Because then you've got just a whole bunch of guys who are still trying to figure it all out. So it's once you lose Nick Saban, now you need more guys in there. But the game has now changed because before when you had Saban, when you had, getting a guy like, guy like Elko, could he punch his weight against, the Brian Kellys of the world? Can he punch his weight against the big names in the SEC? Now, can you punch your weight against Billy Napier? Yeah, you probably can.
All right. Since we last spoke, Mike Elko has really gone in deep into the portal. Okay. So considering he's gone deep in the portal and the evaluation of these guys, we'll have to see how it plays out. But what do you think is a realistic season for A&M in year 1 of Elko? Everybody wants 10, 11 wins. You look at the schedule, you look at the games they have, you look at some of the new talent coming in. Is that a realistic expectation for a team that's won 12 games the last 2 years?
Yeah, you've got to assume at least get close, right? You want to see some improvement. You want to at least be one of those teams that goes into late November knowing that, hey, look, we're not going to win the SEC championship, but we can get darn close. And you want to go into those last 3 games saying, hey, if we win 2 out of our last 3, we might get to 9, 10. We might have a shot at 10 wins because that's going to be the bar. Because if you look at the college football playoff era, who are the top 11 teams? You had to basically go 10-2. You could 9-3. You really need something miraculous to happen here. So to get in that top 11, because the 12th is going to be that Liberty-ish team that they're going to throw a cookie to get in the top 11. 10-2 from the SEC is going to get you in. So that's where the new bar is set for all these programs, because like everyone's thinking the same thing. Like LSU thinks it's supposed to win the national championship. Georgia's going to think it's supposed to win the national championship. Ole Miss now has the outsized thinking that, hey, we can at least get into the tournament. So if you're Texas A&M, you want to see enough of improvement where you do start to win all those tight games. Maybe you have one of those magical years where a couple bounces go your way. And again, if it's November 20th and you say, hey, if we win these last 2, we're in the college football playoff, that'd be a good year for Mike Elko.
Love it, man. Thanks so much for joining us, Pete. Appreciate you, brother.
Have a good one. Talk to you later.
Later, bro. Pete Fiutak, College Football News. Always does good stuff here on the program. Love his time. All right, we'll hit a break. We're going to go around the SEC, maybe get to some of your text messages when we come back. Now time for Brazos Running Company. You know where they are? Century Square. Locally, Aggie-owned and operated specialty running store with an amazing selection of the shoes you want out there, guys. Running gear, you name it. You've got Brooks, you got On, you got Hoka. You got them all out there with a new balance. I don't care. They got it all. I do care, but I don't care, if that makes any sense. And that's a Nuñoism for Nick. If you're a runner, a walker, or interested in any kind of fitness, the right shoe makes all the difference in the world. And that's why you need to go to Brazos Running Company. They're going to help you find the right shoe. They're going to put you through some tests, not like hard tests, like just kind of see your movement and figure out what the right shoe is for you. They've got other brands, Birkenstock. They've got Vuori, and everybody loves Vuori. So check it out, and make sure you visit Brazos Running Company there in Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill. It's the place to get you ready for all your fitness needs, especially when it comes to running. Check out the Brazos Running Company. Wow, this post from Callum England on the YouTube page. By the way, thank you for those of you watching. I know some of you are not A&M fans that are watching. Appreciate you guys joining in. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. But I like this one from Callum. He says, no Bama fan under 30 has seen a Bama team struggle. I think they will be mortal, and now it's one step closer to the back. Interesting on that. So good stuff there. Let's do this. I know we said we'd do around the SEC. Maybe we'll do it here, or maybe we'll push it back a little bit. But you guys have been texting the show the entire time. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call or text us, 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. If you call us, we'll pick it up on the Brian Foley Law hotline. Good people can have a bad day. Call Brian Foley Law at 936-596-0407, serving Houston, the Woodlands, Conroe, and the Brazos Valley. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, and that is where we find Matthew Dawson. Matthew?
Hey, how's it going, David?
Hey, it's going. It's going. Let's get to some text messages.
Yeah, how about this? We don't have a name for this one, unnamed messenger, but would Kirby Smart go back to Alabama?
No.
I agree with you.
I mean, look, first off, I don't know Kirby Smart. I don't think you know him, Matthew. I don't think Nick knows him. So I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Sorry, I didn't, for the kids listening at school while they should be studying. I don't know what he's thinking. None of us do. We all have our own like little world of like what's important to us. But I believe, just based on the information that we have, he's got everything he wants at Georgia. He is building his Georgia superpower. He is potentially the Nick Saban of Georgia. And he's potentially the guy who could surpass Nick Saban from what he's done so far in this early part of his career. There'd be no reason to go follow a legend somewhere else where the expectations would be, you got to be Nick Saban.
Yeah, and the recruits in Georgia themselves, like Nick Saban had a huge pipeline there. Like Buford right there in Georgia.
Yep.
Like you're stealing guys like Caleb Downs, Will Anderson, Brian Branch, Seth McLaughlin. I know that name hurts Bama fans a lot. But like there's some real talent in Georgia. Like per capita is probably the most talented place in for high school football talent coming to college football. So I mean, Kirby Smart is set up really well, I think, with this Nick Saban retirement. I think he's a great beneficiary.
Yep. What other text messages do we have?
We got people talking about buyouts not mattering. Thomas in DFW says coaching buyouts for new coach don't matter for Bama. They're not also having to pay tens of millions to a coach they just fired as well. That is also very true as well.
Yeah, but look, everybody's financials are different. I think Alabama's fine. They don't have the financials that A&M and Texas have, but they're fine. They don't have Oregon money, but they're fine. I think if you think you have a chance with the coach that you want, I think they already know who they're hiring. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they already know.
It's not crazy.
Like, I can't imagine the Nick Saban, like I said at the top of the show, woke up yesterday morning. He's like, you know what? What's his wife's name again? Miss
Terry.
Miss Terry. Miss Terry. I think he calls her Miss, by the way. Miss Terry. Why do I sound like Obama there? I didn't mean to. Miss Terry. I'm going to use David Nuño's voice. I think it's time to retire. This is something they've been talking about. He may have known mid-season. Greg Byrne may have known mid-season. He may have known at the end of the season, right when they lost to Michigan. He took a couple days to evaluate. And like, that's it. And that may have all happened. I don't know. None of us really know. So if they don't have their guy, they have their 1A, their 1B. And I don't think they're scrambling per se. Now, there's conversations being placed. They're going to have some interviews. You have to have some interviews, right? Like all that I believe to be the case. I don't think Alabama is going to go the coordinator route, up-and-coming coordinator. They don't have to. If they want Dan Lanning, they can go get Dan Lanning. I don't think they can get Kirby. But whoever they want, if they want Lane, they can go get Lane. If they want Sark, they can go get Sark. Brian Kelly's a name that has not come up with Bama at all, but if they wanted him, they could try to go get him. So I believe they have their game plan, and whatever the costs are, they've probably already evaluated it. All right, what else?
We got people questioning, unnamed messenger, would Bama really go down the path of an offensive-minded head coach, given that Nick Saban's defensive background and the success that they had with him, a.k.a. Lane Kiffin?
Yeah, I think they would. I think they'll go for whoever they want. I don't think the philosophy, because when you think of Bama, you do think of defense, but since Lane and Sark, right? They also think about their offense quite a bit. This year, no. This year, they were fine. But, like, what they have built over the years is what every program wants. And I'm not even just talking about the national championships. They can beat you different ways. They can beat you with suffocating defense. They can beat you with a mobile quarterback. And, of course, a lot of this is because of Nick Saban. They can beat you with a pocket quarterback. They can just beat you so many different ways. So if the candidate they want is an offensive-minded Kalen DeBoer or a Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian, then yes, I believe they will go that route. If it's a defensive-minded Dan Lanning, they'll go that. They're going to get the best guy for them, in my opinion. Let's try to get one more.
All right, not seeing a whole lot. Well, here's the question I have for you.
Yep.
How much money do you think Alabama spent on Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies for Nick Saban on his desk every morning?
Is that Chasen Houston's earlier text? Is that where I saw that one?
Yeah, and actually, he said something about that. I don't know if he specifically had that question, but thanks for thanks to Chase in Houston for at least bringing it up.
Dale and Tabor, it's boys. It's time to start the rumor. The Bama's courting Sark. Who would Texas hire? Jimbo Fisher. Longhorns need a head spin. Your work is done. Dale and Tabor. I think that is the interesting part of this conversation, because it's not just what Bama does. If Bama goes and gets an existing sitting head coach somewhere at an established program, then that program has to make a move, right? So, for instance, let's just say it's the University of Texas for this conversation. Bama gets Sark. I don't think that's going to be the case, but let's just play that out. Then Texas has an opening. Texas, by the way, will fill that void with a pretty big name head coach. That's just the facts, guys. They will. Or, maybe they go back to the Charlie Strong days. Who knows? But then they go get their guy, and that opens up, and then it just keeps pushing back all these programs until somebody just promotes from within, which might be what a team has to do, right? I don't see Alabama doing that, but Alabama gets their guy. Their guy then, that school then has to either promote from within or go get the guy, or you promote from within for a year. All right, let's see how it works out, and hope it all works. That's where they're at. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, AT joining the program, Aaron Torres from Aaron Torres Online and Fox Sports Radio. He will join us. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films and Chance McClain, where they make documentary films about your family. They make documentary films about your family ranch, your family business. If you're listening to this show and you've thought about it, be like, I don't know, at some point, you should at least do yourself the favor. I call it a favor, and call Chance, because you're not promised tomorrow, guys. Your family's not promised anything, right? One of the beauties is my dad is 93 years old. And when he was 91, we did one of these heritage films with my dad, and we got to hear the whole story. And you may know the story, but I guarantee you don't tell your dad's story the way he does, right? We all forget details. And then when your kids tell that story at the game of telephone, you keep losing certain details. With heritage films, the story's right there. Heritage Film will do a documentary film about your family business, your family ranch, your family patriarch, whomever it may be, and you can take it from there and then pass it on from generation to generation. So that is an option. You also have the year flicks, which I think they're great. These are videos for the youngers, like you, freshman year of college. Matthew, what year are you? You're a junior?
I have 2 semesters left, so I'm
senior. All right, so Matthew's a senior, right? It'd have been cool to get Matthew his freshman year, and then Matthew his first day at TexAgs as a year flick. So, find out what he's into, and then when he gets his first job out of college, whatever he ends up doing, that would be a very cool year flicks kind of different chapters of your life. And Chance will do that for you. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341. YourHeritageFilm.com. Headphones popped off right when the segment's starting. Welcome in, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, guys, it is time for Around College Football, presented to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. And with that, we go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We are joined by Aaron Torres of Aaron Torres Online and Fox Sports Radio. AT, what up?
I mean, I don't know. What is up? I mean, I feel like I haven't talked to you in 6 months. I mean, have you been avoiding me or what's going on, man?
I've been a little upset with you. Yeah, I have been.
Oh, why? Because I listed Mike Elko as the top candidate to replace Nick Saban. Is that what it is?
Did you do that? Happened? Did you absolutely do that?
No,
Okay.
No, of course not.
Mike
also,
Elko's...
by the way, can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go first. I insist.
Mike Elko's got his dream job.
What
go
were you
ahead.
saying? Oh, okay. Oh, the dream job. Okay, good. First of all, amazing how 2 weeks can change a narrative of, oh my God, Mike Elko is losing everybody. He's in over his head, to Mike Elko literally can't stop taking commitments. Oh my God, where are we going to find these scholarships? So that's one. But two, all I was going to say when I made that joke, no, I certainly did not list Mike Elko as even a phone call, is I will say this, and maybe I am the most uninformed, analyst or whatever role I am. I don't really know if I'm an analyst, a writer, whatever. I was around Alabama for a week at the Rose Bowl. I was around Alabama media for a week at the Rose Bowl. Anybody who's claiming, oh, yeah, no, I was telling you weeks ago this could be a thing. There wasn't even a hint of a whisper of anything that this was going down for 2 weeks ago. And so, you see all these fake people that want engagement or whatever. I don't know. There was no hint at all after hanging out with Alabama people for a week that this was in the cards. So unbelievable. But I did see a lot of that last night. It's, oh, I told you so. It's like nobody saw this coming. Players, coaches, media, whatever. So, yeah, that's my spiel on that. So.
All right, Aaron, give me what the college football world looks like in this post-Nick Saban era, right? Like the Kirby situation in Georgia, the other effects. Like, what does it look like?
It's fascinating. It's a great question. And listen, I think the way college football is changing, listen, Nick Saban at some point will hopefully do a press conference. I think that's kind of crazy. Like, we haven't even gotten word if he's going to speak at any point, whatever. But, I do wonder if, because the world is changing so rapidly, if he just feels like now is the time. 12-team playoff, you're going to have to win essentially four postseason games to win a national championship, maybe 5 if you play in an SEC championship game, and that opening round. We know about the portal, we know about NIL, and I wonder if that's why. But to answer your question, I think my biggest takeaway, I think what we saw this year from Michigan and Washington, I think is bluntly what we're going to see in a 12-team playoff era. We know that the talent is more dispersed. We know that a school like Georgia, whoever, is always going to have a lot of talent, but the talent is more dispersed. And I think it's going to be, just partly who's hot. It's almost like the NFL. Who's hot, who's healthy, blah, 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 blah. And I do think that's one of the lasting, things that is going to leave with Nick Saban is I think the era of winning 3 titles in 4 years, playing for 4 championships in 5 years, I just think that's done. And I also think it opens up the situation for a program like Texas A&M in the right year to get hot, not only make the playoff, but have things break their way. So that, to me, if you talk about what's next post-Saban, I think that's the most interesting element of it is I think that reign of 10, 11, 12, 13-win seasons, playoff appearances, Final Four, national championships, I just think it's going to be so hard to replicate in the next year.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, so let's kind of play this out for a minute because I think it's real interesting. Saban, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, and I'm even going to throw in Mike Vrabel. Not that he's on that same, pecking order, right? But just like some pretty big names over the last couple days, man.
Oh, it's insanity, And I mean, listen, I know you probably don't talk a ton of NFL. I don't really, except when I'm on Fox Sports Radio. But One, I mean, this has to be the greatest candidate pool for NFL jobs ever. I mean, Saban's retired, but, I'm not totally sold that Pete Carroll is retired. Bill Belichick, it seems like, wants to coach again, Mike Vrabel, maybe Jim Harbaugh, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that element of it. But, yeah, it is wild how it all came together at the exact same time. And it's for all different reasons. And it was funny, the news was on this morning, and the Belichick news kind of broke when my wife was getting ready for work and I was working out in the house, whatever. And she asked, about all of this, excuse me. And I said, Belichick's a little bit different and I didn't say Belichick. I said that guy right there, he's a little bit different. He probably still wants to coach. The NFL is different than college, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think it's sad just seeing all these iconic coaches essentially at their end. Is Pete Carroll ever going to coach again? Maybe, but probably not. Is Bill Belichick going to ever coach again? Maybe, but I don't think it's a certainty. And I think Nick Saban is done. So I think it's interesting. I haven't really been able to figure out like the cool, unique take on what the tie is between all of them. But it's just, it's just insane how all of this news broke within less than a 24-hour period. Stunning. The football world is going to be changed forever. And then obviously, as you said, because they're all around the same age, I think there's a lot of 70-year-olds out there that probably woke up today with a little step in their step, like, Pete Carroll and Nick Saban ain't doing it anymore. Maybe it's time for me to slow down as well. So yeah, that's like I said, I can't find an interesting, unique take or tie that ties all three together.
Here's a weird one for you because I'm curious. Now that Lane Kiffin doesn't have Jimbo to come after, I'm not saying he's going to go after Sark, but like, how do you think that plays out? Both Nick's right-hand men at different times, both offensive geniuses. That's what the college football world says in the SEC. Both being named as potential candidates for that Alabama job. Do you see some kind of potential rivalry between those two dudes?
I was thinking about that. Just the fact, and they both kind of tweeted out the thank you post to both Saban and Carroll yesterday. I don't know, but here's my other question for you, Nuño.
I got an answer.
Lane Kiffin's kind of, I'm trying to think of the analogy, and I can't think of one. But what was Lane Kiffin's whole gripe with Jimbo Fisher? Why did he always poke at him? It was because he thought he was playing on a different playing field than everybody else, Jimbo Fisher, in terms of NIL. Now, as I said at the time, as we've discussed since then, as Evan essentially confirmed over the last month, it's like so much of that was absolute nonsense. But I bring it up because isn't Lane Kiffin just doing exactly what he used to criticize Jimbo Fisher for? So, yeah, Lane Kiffin's a little immature. Yeah, he's going to poke at whoever. But also the thing that he was poking Jimbo Fisher for is the thing that he has now become. So maybe there's like a Batman, Dark Knight analogy there. But the thing that he pretended to hate is now the thing that he's become. The one thing I will say is he very clearly wants this Alabama job. Increasingly, or at least he wanted to be considered, increasingly it doesn't feel like he is going to be considered. So I do wonder if that guy becomes his punching bag. If somebody is hired that he deems beneath him, does that become the bear that he pokes or the person that he tries to get under the skin of? I think that's going to be the interesting question. But isn't that fair to say, though, the thing that he criticized Jimbo Fisher for is the thing that he's becoming? For people who aren't drawing the parallel, it's because they obviously have geared up in NIL, and they're obviously doing very well in the portal. And again, a lot of the complaints that he had 2 years ago is now exactly what he's doing.
AT, when you come on here, I feel like we can go a little TMZ, right? Because you follow like drama. Sometimes you're involved in drama, I'll just say. What do you
Every once in a while.
Every once in a while. What do you think about all this stuff going on with basically ESPN this week? You got Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith going at each other often, and that's kind of been a rivalry for a while. But that's not the only thing. We saw the Pat McAfee and the ESPN exec situation that started last week, and that's not the only thing. You had Jimmy Kimmel and Aaron Rodgers drama that started on the McAfee show, and just kind of talk to me about this WWE TMZ world we're living in there in sports media.
You mean OB isn't in tune with Whitlock versus Stephen A. Smith? No, I'm kidding. I love OB. So I haven't followed that one as closely, but the McAfee thing is interesting to me, and it was funny. So it's tough because, first of all, my personal take on anything media related is I root for everybody, because if Pat McAfee's making $18 million a year, that's good for everybody in our business. But I bring it up because I do think there is some interesting conversation about the fact that, everybody says they want to be in the Pat McAfee business. Everybody says, oh, we want a younger audience. We want this. We want that. It's like, well, now you're seeing the consequences of it. And I think what's interesting for me is if I read everything correctly yesterday, and forgive me because it got a little chaotic once Nick Saban decided to call it a career, it sounds like Pat McAfee is publicly saying that he has made the decision to remove Aaron Rodgers. Now, that could certainly be possible. The bosses that had his back last week when he was calling out his own bosses, McAfee or Aaron Rodgers called out a different boss, and maybe that's why maybe this boss is closer to McAfee. But I do think, listen, it's a slippery slope. And man, you're in the media content creation spaces. You hire a guy for a reason. You say you're going to keep everything the same, but you also, there's things that come with hiring such a person. So I don't know if I'm making sense, Nuño, but I do think it's an interesting moment in time, in a short amount of time for that relationship, because, again, you want Pat McAfee, brings in a young audience, brings in ratings, brings in whatever, but he's going to stir the pot and stuff is going to pop up. And so I don't love the idea of removing Aaron Rodgers, and I'll take it a step further. I don't love removing Aaron Rodgers because he's an NFL superstar that you're getting an exclusive with. So weird deal all around, and I don't even know if I articulated properly what I really wanted to say, but it has certainly been a crazy week as far as you said, sports media and all that's concerned. So.
Last thing, we spent a lot of time yesterday on it. We've spent 0 time on it today. I'm just going to say 2 words. You respond, okay?
Okay.
Aggie basketball.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Oh, that weird sigh that I just made. Yeah, it's a disappointment, and I know there's stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and there's injuries. There's plenty of time to turn it around. But, listen, how this played out is that LSU was not a very good team. Now, they got some guys eligible when all the transfer stuff changed, but they were not a very good team early part of the year. And then Auburn is a team that you've had great success against. And so it's just one of those weird things where, besides the out-of-conference portion, you would have hoped that you would start better in SEC play. There's still plenty of time to turn it around, but, listen, there's only so many weeks that you can keep saying that before it stops being true. And so, yeah, it's just been a real disappointment. And I don't know what else to say. I'm very surprised. Buzz is an even-keeled guy. You know him better than I do. Not too high, not too low. But he's good at keeping out outside stuff. And it just feels like this year, the combination of injuries and maybe some other outside stuff has obviously played a role in the situation they currently find themselves.
That is our buddy, Aaron Torres from Aaron Torres Online and Fox Sports Radio. Aaron, anything, I know there's something good. Tell me what's good on Aaron Torres Online.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, right now it's Nick Saban reaction. I want to find the take on Belichick, Carroll, and Saban. Besides, it's crazy. There's something there. I don't know what it is. So hopefully I get to that. I know you got to get to break, but do you have any thoughts on a tie that binds them or an interesting angle on the 3 of them all retiring at the same time?
I just think
I'll probably steal it for my next show.
Well, it's all right.
No, I'm kidding.
We're prepping. Here's the deal. I just think it's incredible that it's all happening now. Now.
I know. Well, do I have half a second to say one last thing, or do you have to go?
I'll give you 7 seconds.
I was just telling my producer yesterday how, hey, it's going to be a slow couple weeks, accept it, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, like you said, January is usually a slow month, anything besides NFL playoffs, and now it's like everything is happening at once. So, like you said, we could talk for 2 hours, but I only got 20 minutes, and I know you got to go. So thanks, David.
AT, appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you, David. Thank
Later,
you.
man. That is Aaron Torres from Aaron Torres Online. Appreciate his time here on TexAgs Radio. Let's hit a break here, and we'll come back with some parting shots for the 9 o'clock hour before we start with Logan Lee. We will do some basketball here at 10 o'clock. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. They have amazing deals on their website that change from month to month. You need to check out the website. That's where they put everything on there. Everything is on the website. But when you'll see the selection. You'll love it. But if you go in person, a couple things are going to happen. You're going to make that drive out there to Caldwell. You're going to see incredible selection of vehicles. You're going to be greeted by an awesome staff. You're going to actually have the best customer service. If you end up buying a vehicle, you're going to be like, man, that was awesome. That was great. Hey, and you high-five your wife. It's weird. It always happens. Always in the car as you're driving off in your new car. Look, it worked out. Get a great trade-in value, great customer service, and then you're going to be a repeat customer, and you're going to get your service done there, and they're going to tell you about the complimentary pickup for their service customers. Like all that stuff, you're going to be on top of, right? You will be on top of it. 15-minute drive, the very edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Short segment here. I did want to say, like, as a content creator, it's cool to have everything that's happening, coaching changes for not only Texas A&M, but now to Alabama, the transfer portal, signing day. Like, our content has been extended, like, with new things to talk about often. There's times in this industry where it's a dead period. You got to come up with, let's do slideshow radio. Let's talk about the 8 best second basemen ever, right? Like, it's cool to have new content for what I do and for what you're listening privileges, right? I don't think I phrased that right. But as a head coach in college football, like that, there's legit no time to rest. It is a constant grind. It is nonstop. It does not stop. And I don't want to say you got to be a young man, but you got to have a certain type of hunger for it to continue it. Like, it is a grind and it does not stop. And you got to re-recruit your roster. You've got to go to the portal. There's a lot. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with Logan Lee, talk a little Aggie basketball. Then we'll do the fan show. We'll get more to your text messages, that and more. You are listening to TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Talk to you in 2 and 2. All My Exes Live in Texas. Great song because Logan Lee To me, he's TexAgs lore. You are family regardless. You may not like office here anymore.
Ooh,
but
am I an ex? And am
that's
I,
what the people at Brian Broadcasting are saying?
Am I an ex that just keeps returning?
Well, you keep getting invited.
Well, that might be
So
worse.
it's my fault. Like, I'm the stalker. I'm like, I need more. So a moment ago, Logan, we're going to get into some basketball, but I don't really want to talk basketball, to be honest with you. Like, I'm at that point. But
so you don't want to talk to me? Great.
No,
Thanks.
I want to talk
Glad
to you.
I'm here.
Dalton came in here and goes, "What is Ashtray Nuño?" And you were like,
I was taken aback.
I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. Okay? I told a story on the air. I forgot how it came up. Spring break 1997.
Oh, man.
Maybe 98. Okay? I was a junior, so 98. We go to Panama City. We're, as the kids say, lit, or, you know. What do they say, Matthew?
I don't know.
What's the word that they say for drinking?
You got it. I mean, you were probably lit. You know?
Okay. Now, I haven't had a sip of alcohol since 2006, all right? So this is a long time ago. This is Nuño that you guys don't know. And I got to Panama City. They were about to do shots. There's not enough shot glasses for me. And I'm already a little lit. So I was like, give me the ashtray. I'll do the shot in there. And that's how the legend of Ashtray Nuño.
That is absolutely disgusting.
It was clean. It wasn't like it had stuff in it.
No ashtray is clean.
No, you're right.
Like, what are you talking about? It
I
was clean.
a 21-year-old loser.
You were already lit. You probably took 3 cigarette butts out of there to do it.
It was deep washed. All right. I Palm Olive, whatever the brand is, if they want to sponsor. I cleaned it good.
You didn't though.
I did.
You know how I know?
How?
Because everybody was already taking shots and you just wanted to be a part of it. So you didn't like.
No, they said Nuño's got to be here.
Hey guys, hold on. Let me go clean this ashtray real quick. No, you said, hey, dump that out. I'll take it out of there. That's like taking a mat shot out of a dirty mat.
I'm telling you. Ask Matt Hugo, the great Aggie great. He was there. He knows. I cleaned it. I passed out in the shower that day.
So what you're saying is your buddy spit in the ashtray, wiped it down with a napkin, and said it's clean.
He would have died. It would have been death that day. I wouldn't be here doing the show. I'd be in jail. That would have happened.
This coming from a guy that won't take a drink, even with a lid on it, into the bathroom, but yet you'll take shots out of an ashtray.
Yeah. Well, this again, I was 21.
So tell me again why you don't take drinks into the bathroom?
Because I don't want the air to spoil what's in there. Look, you've been in this TexAgs bathroom before. Somebody's always in it doing something they shouldn't be doing. Always.
Wait.
I just think you got to have a little bit of respect sometimes. That's all I'm saying.
What do you mean
some stuff you save for home.
What? Hold on.
I can't bring a drink.
What has changed in the TexAgs bathroom
Nothing.
Nothing. So who's doing what? What are we talking about? You don't go to the bathroom in the bathroom?
No, you go to the bathroom. Just sometimes there's not a pleasant aroma in there. And I don't want that to get in my drink. I don't want it to mix. I'm not the only one. Most people.
Hold on. So do you hold your breath in the bathroom because you don't want to breathe it in?
I breathe. I breathe. But there's,
so you're okay with that going into your system directly, but you're not okay with it.
Yeah.
Like just hovering around your drink.
I try not to breathe much. That's a fact. Okay. I just do enough to get through the situation. This is the best segment or the worst we've ever had. All right. So I try to get through the situation, but I'm not bringing it in there. Like, no, like, why am I going to, you don't do that. It's like Chernobyl. I don't want to hang out over there. I'm not going to the restroom.
Yeah, but you don't want to hang out there. It's not just your drink going in there. You don't want to go to Chernobyl.
Are you the kind of guy that like checks his phone while he's at the urinal?
No.
I've actually done that. I don't like doing that, but I have.
No.
All right. Well, it's the
what
same.
if I drop it?
Oh, done. New phone. Pay the insurance fee if you have insurance, right? Like that ain't gonna happen.
Like you can't pull your phone out in the bathroom. In a public bathroom.
How did we get here?
I don't, to be honest. Oh, Ashtray Nuño.
Ashtray Nuño. This is Alton's fault. Should we talk some basketball?
Let's do it.
First off, I love talking to Katie. Okay? I love it. She's as good and better at you talking basketball. Sorry. I mean that as a respect to your lovely wife. The women's basketball team, they have a huge game today. Looking forward to watching that game. I'm looking forward to Aggie basketball eventually getting back on track, but they're not on track right now, buddy.
That's the frustrating part. Every year, something happens. They get off track, and then it's like doom and gloom. Oh, my gosh, they're never going to win a game again. I think when they lost 8 straight in the middle of the season 2 years ago, we had talked about if they lose this one, they could rattle off 10 losses in a row. If they win this one, they'll win 10 in a row. And they happen to lose. They lost 8 in a row, and it was a nightmare. Last year, there were some ups and downs, and nothing ever really clicked until the last 15 games of the season, 10, 12 games of the season, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden we're like, where's this team been the entire time? Like this is what we were talking about before season. And now it's here. It's finally here. This year, with the most veteran team that Buzz has had, they can't find a rhythm. They can't make it happen right now. And the crazy thing is the offense is stagnant. I don't think their defense is great right now. They hustle, they move, they fly around, but too many straight line drives, too many shots in the paint. It's just not on track right now. That is the best way to say it. But you got to go back to the history of Aggie basketball under Buzz.
Yeah,
they're going to find a way, and they're going to make a run at some point. It's just they're running out of time now. That is the problem. How many times can we say, you know what, just wait till Buzz gets them in a rhythm, and then they're going to be good?
So this is maybe where my problem is in that. I do think, I've said it several times this week, he'll go to the lab, he'll get the ingredients right, and he'll turn this into something. He's a master at that. He's done that. I'm using but here's my point, Logan. I think I should have seen this coming. Because, to be honest with you, the offense has been a problem for a few years.
Yeah.
Except when Quentin Jackson gets super hot and, rescues them after the 8-game losing streak. Except when Wade Taylor goes crazy for most of SEC play, right? They've had these even this year, heroic moments. That's not offensive productivity, sustainable offensive productivity.
But here's the problem with that. When Q was here, he just did his own thing, and he created, and he couldn't be stopped. He could score on the inside. He could score mid-range. He could score from three-point line. He's dunking on people. He's posting up at times. He did everything for them. They don't have a guy like that this year.
Yeah.
They don't have the Wade Taylor from last year, and not that he's worse this year.
All the defenses,
but they don't have the puzzle pieces around him that they had to make him who he was.
Dexter Dennis and Julius Marble are huge, and also I throw in Boots on there because Boots still isn't Boots yet.
Absolutely, and without those three, Wade has to take 35-foot shots.
Yep,
and that's I mean, when the defense is focusing on you, and that's what you have to rely on, you're going to shoot 29% from the field.
Yep.
Now, silver lining, they do a heck of a job offensive rebounding. That keeps them in games. But if you don't take bad shots, you make more of them, and then you don't have to grab as many offensive rebounds. And how many layups have they missed? Their second chance opportunities aren't as efficient as they should be. If you're getting those second chances, make something of it.
They don't get easy buckets. They don't get points in the wings. They don't get points in transition. And that opens everything else up.
The points in transition comes from the defense, and I don't think the defense has been as stout as it has been in years past.
Yep.
Now, it is solid, and they make the other team work, and they make the other team take hard shots, but they're not getting steals. They're not turning it over and turning it into 2 points at the other end. It is, hey, they may turn it over with 5 seconds left, but the team turns it over 94 feet away from the basket in the corner, and all of a sudden now you don't even have a secondary break. You just have a half court set, and they haven't done well in the half court set. I don't know what offensive sets have been executed on the regular for an easy bucket.
So follow me here. Buzz's teams typically muddy the waters. They play a grind-out style. But when teams rely on grind-out style, I expect that there to be a huge talent deficiency, and that's how you kind of even it. I thought coming into this year there was sure somewhat of a talent deficiency, but not really, because you had all these guys coming back. And if you use the thought process, well, Wade, look how much he improved last year, and look how much Boots has improved. And look, like I wish we didn't have to muddy the waters as much with this current group. Next year, when a lot of these guys move on, or the year after, sure.
When you don't have a post presence and you don't have a great 3-point shooting team, you have to muddy the water. As much talent as there is on paper, all the talent is very similar. There, Buzz gets a 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" guy that is athletic, that can run and jump, that is a streaky shooter, that likes to rebound and will play defense. No real great passers, no true point guards and true leaders on the team with the ball in their hands. No post presence. There's nobody that is going to set a down screen for Wade. He gets the ball at the free throw line extended on the 3-point line, and then whoever set that screen just turns around and buries their man under the basket. They don't have a guy like that. And if you don't have somebody just eating up space in the paint, then the defense is allowed to spread out, and they're allowed to contest every shot you take. And A&M just doesn't have those pieces that they had last year at the end of the year. Or hasn't found them, hasn't put them in the right position. Let me say it that way. I think they have very good puzzle pieces. They're missing a post player, but outside of that, they have very good puzzle pieces, and they just have to be put in the right position, and they haven't been put in the right position right now.
So funny. I'm not going to get into what we started the segment with, but the two types of responses from Ashtray Nuño and Bathroom Phobia Nuño, the responses, there are a couple that have said, best segment ever. There's another guy who's like, nobody cares about this, move on. So sorry for the 180 seconds of audio. And how I know that is because it'll be on a tweet later. But I'm sorry that, we've done wall-to-wall Nick Saban basketball coverage, but the 3 minutes that two buddies catching up had fun, which is why people like TexAgs. I'm sorry that caused you a problem, G. Continue, Logan.
Man. Look.
But I get it. There's some certain shows I listen to, like, I don't care about your personal life, bro. Leave me alone.
There are some shows where I'm like, how did they even get on this topic? This one being it.
Well, it's all Dalton's fault.
How did we get there?
It's Dalton's fault.
It is Dalton's fault. I blame a lot of things on Dalton.
I'm a very detailed, analytical human being. If you look at my rundown, there's no potty talk on here. The rundown was very specific. Basketball for the next 25 minutes.
Potty talk. Toilet takes.
Stop. We just lost G. Not Coach G. He's listening, I hope. Anyway, the turnovers. Should we go to a positive thing? I struggle with this because there's so much time left in this season. And again, I go to I think Buzz usually figures things out for a team. And he was the master 2 years ago. He was the master last year of self-diagnosing certain issues. Remember 2 years ago during the 21 season, they were terrible at shooting free throws. They were terrible. And they got good. Right? I don't know if he had them in the gym for 17 days. Just do a free throw till you get it right, right? But they got good at it. And then last year, weren't they, if not the best, one of the best at making free throws and getting to the line? So he's going to fix some of these issues.
Yeah.
But the turnovers, that's uncharacteristic.
I think that's why, not the turnovers, but the fact that you said he's going to fix some of these things. I think that's why I can get up here and kind of laugh at it right now. Because I still have that, I don't know if it's faith or hope or belief that this team is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
They have almost every single year, and they've turned some things around. They figured it out, and then all of a sudden they make this sprint to the finish line that either puts them in the tournament or makes them a bubble team, and that's my only concern. I have hopes for this team for this season to not even have to worry about.
But that's impossible now, right?
Where are they going to be? They're 0-2. They just put the screen up there.
Put it up again, please.
They've got Kentucky, Arkansas, LSU. Kentucky at Arkansas at LSU. There it is. Missouri, I mean, Kentucky's going to be tough.
I would like to say which is a guaranteed win. I had hoped LSU was a guaranteed win, but they beat you at home.
Look, I all but said LSU was a guaranteed win. That didn't happen. That was a ugly game. That was unfortunate.
But it was an ugly. The first half wasn't good, but I never thought they were going to lose. The second half was terrible.
No. The first half, I felt bad about the first half.
I didn't like that it was a 32-30. I didn't like, but I still thought they would figure they'll win. They got blown out in the second.
But the way they
half.
were playing, I didn't have a good feeling about it. I right now at this point, there's no guaranteed wins. There's nobody that you can look at that schedule and say, oh, they'll get that one. Or 99.9% sure they'll get that one. Because here's the thing. LSU is one of the worst teams in conference, and they came into Reed Arena and just picked apart what the Aggies were trying to do and what they did do. And, go to Baton Rouge, I think it's a different game. I think A&M, to be honest, I think A&M wins at LSU.
Do they win at Arkansas?
I don't know. I think that the Arkansas game is going to depend greatly on how they play against Kentucky.
But here's what I tend to think. Just like Houston, I thought they were going to play Houston tight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they'd play Auburn tight. They play good teams tight. I would not be surprised if that game comes down to the wire against Kentucky because I think they play Kentucky really. Now, I don't think they've won the last couple of years, if I remember correctly. Kentucky's number 6 team in the country. Had they really gone against any serious talent? But again, A&M is spiraling right now.
90 points. I guess I didn't realize Kentucky was scoring that many points and shooting that well. This is a team that Cal has let. Normally, Cal doesn't let them fire up that many threes and that many shots, and Cal has done. I used to be the biggest Calipari hater ever. I didn't think he was a good coach. I thought he let all his staff guys do everything, and all he did was recruit. But he is really good at adjusting to what his team needs. And think about it, bringing in that many freshmen, that many transfers every year, and still being in the conversation every year.
Yep.
And it's a different style each year. Like, this is a different style of Kentucky basketball that we've seen in a long time. And A&M is going to have to buckle up. If Kentucky scores 90 points, it ain't happening.
Instead of break, you do one more?
Yeah.
All right. Come back with Logan Lee here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio, smoking in the boys' room is what. TexAgs Radio presented by David. Well played, Sean. Nice job there at the mothership. Hey, here's a text message that just came up on my phone. Let's.
Why are you looking at your phone? This is professional here. Why are we?
This is Adam Schefter does it all the time.
Like I said, this is professional here.
You don't think Adam Schefter is professional?
No, he is.
Woj? Professional?
They're all, hey,
they're good.
I understand. It's part of the job.
So a reminder, the number one defense in the country, that would be Texas A&M women's basketball team versus the number one offense in the country. That would be who?
LSU.
And they're playing when?
Tonight.
On TV?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Listen to the radio. My wife's going to be on there. She's going to be talking her ear off, or your ear off. So just listen to the radio. It'll be good. Hey, one more shout out.
You can do it as long as you want on this.
That's what I'm talking about. My son won. He won the Golden Eagle Award. I was going to give a lot of detail there, and I don't need to give a lot of detail about my kids. He won the Golden Eagle Award today. Best in his class, tops in the last 9 weeks or whatever, was 6 weeks, whatever it was. Congrats to him, man.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal. On this show, kids come to the front of the line. You can do that anytime. Kids and puppies. That's how we roll.
Nice. I'm okay with that. I got a puppy named Scout.
Do you really?
Yeah, man.
How old?
Year and a month.
How long did it take for the puppy issues to be corrected?
He still has issues. But my whole family has issues.
Well,
that's just how we roll in our household.
It sounds familiar. Hey, so do me a favor, Nick, if you don't mind. Put that schedule again. Your boy Hop said over the next few games, A&M really needs to come out of it 2-3, right? So Kentucky, Arkansas, LSU. I guess if you consider they already have the 2 losses, so they can only have one more loss over the next 3 games. I think is how he phrased it. What is not a best case scenario, a likely good scenario? Is it 2-3? Likely good?
I mean, that's a good scenario.
Best case, you win them all.
I don't know, but I don't know how likely that is. The way they're playing right now, I think they'll beat LSU at LSU. They'll lose to Kentucky and Arkansas. If they change some things up, if they go to playing how they played in the second half of Houston, the Houston game, they'll beat Arkansas, and they'll push Kentucky.
Yeah.
I just don't. In the second half of the Houston game, I think they relied too much on scoring and not enough on defense. And if you do that to Kentucky, they've got so many weapons that Kentucky will just score. It can't be a track meet against Kentucky. They've got to muddy that one up, and they've got to buckle down for Kentucky. But that's the thing. Like against Houston, they didn't have Radford, right. And they still played lights out because of the way Wade led them on offense.
Mm-hmm.
But so they have that potential. They can do that. Right now, can you count on it?
No,
I don't think so.
But
they haven't showed us. They haven't showed us anything.
I will remind people: this team has seen some lower lows than we've seen recently. During the 8-game losing streak in 21, I told you off air because I was scared to say it on the air. I don't know if they're going to win another game. And what do? They won almost every game after that. Remember, we had to talk about, and we were kind of going through it, I don't know, that's a tough one, that's a tough one, that's a tough one, that's a maybe, that's a no, right? And then they started beating everybody. Last year, Wofford, we did not, after that game, there was no way we saw them going 15-3 in conference, right? There was no way.
But here's the thing. In the 8-game losing streak 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, every game that they lost was by a basket. By a free throw. They lost, I think in that 8-game losing streak, the largest margin of defeat was 4 points. Maybe it might have been 5 points.
That's right. They were all winnable games.
They were all winnable games. And you look at it they grab that rebound or they don't turn it over or they make that shot.
Are we talking about Aggie football here? Because it feels like this last couple of years.
Exactly. They win the game.
Yeah.
This year, though, games haven't been like that. FAU, not like that. Virginia, not like that. These last 2 games, not like that. LSU, Auburn, not like that.
Auburn game, they could have won that game. I know that the score doesn't look like that, but they could.
You can't win a game if you don't make a basket in the last 9 minutes of the game,
which is almost an entire quarter.
You're you're not going to win the game that way.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point is with, 3.5 minutes left, they were within 2 or 3 points. So
Yeah.
They were in striking distance. The final score wasn't as close as the game was. And that whole game, their offense struggling. They were right there. They were right. But you're right. You can't go 9-12, whatever it was, and not hit one bucket.
Yeah. And expect to win. You can do that.
Yeah, it happens. We just saw it.
You just won't win. So, but that is the ultimate concern for me this year.
Yep. So,
not that it can't be done. It's just it looks a lot harder than in years past, because in years past they were just right on the edge. Man, if they do this, they'll win, they'll win. Right now they have to change.
They have to change. So last year, I used this as an example, and I forget who it was a couple years ago, but last year it was maybe game 1 or 2 of conference play where I think Anderson Garcia really emerged as a guy. Is there somebody this year who might emerge to make us be like, man, like, Dexter Dennis, he emerged early, right? And he was legit. We're still waiting for Jace and Eli and some of the other guys to really, and Boots to be Boots. But is there somebody that you could see really emerging as like, wow, we needed this guy?
I think truly the only one right now would be Jace, just because he has playing time.
Yeah,
I've seen what he can do. You can see
flashes, right?
Those flashes of, man, he can shoot, man, he can score, he can rebound. Like, you've seen that, but you haven't seen it consistently. Before the year started, I thought Eli was going to win a couple of games for A&M. And I still think he has that ability, but if Buzz hasn't trusted him to play significant minutes up until this point, it's just like the whole Marble situation. 5 games ago, we were like, you know what? If he comes back, maybe. But now it's like,
he ain't coming back.
He's not coming back. Like, even if he did come back, he's not ready. He's not going to fit. It's not going to happen. Like,
and look at Boots, right? He's been in and out. He's not himself.
Exactly. And so, I think Eli will still get a game for A&M because he has that talent. He has that capability. And, it's just like Manny against Memphis. Manny scored 21, 23 against Memphis. Normally he doesn't do that, but Buzz put him in because he got hot. He fit the rotation. He had a matchup. Eli, I still think Eli can find one or 2 games here or there, and Buzz will utilize him down the stretch to win a game. But if you're looking for consistency, I think Jace is really the only one that has that ability to emerge and help this team.
That could have been
win.
That could have been a disaster. My tea almost flipped. Continue.
Your warm tea.
It's not as hot as it was.
It's not as hot.
Yeah, I don't like that part.
So it just would have ruined your outfit.
No, it would have just all over the computer. So where were we, Jace?
I just think he's the only option right now so far that we've seen to truly make a different impact moving forward.
Do you think we see the Boots of old at some point soon?
Yeah, for sure. I do. One, because I just think he's that mentally tough. He's going to push through. He's going to get to where he needs to be. Now, obviously, we don't know the extent of what happened and the injury and why he was out for so long as opposed to, I thought he was going to be out maybe 1 or 2 games and he'd be fine. Everybody's just precautions in non-conference play, but he doesn't look himself. And so you don't know the extent. But if it is something that is just he's hurt, he's going to push through that.
Yep.
There aren't many people that are as mentally tough as him on the court. So I think.
And a normal Boots,
changes
normalizes
this team.
Wade Taylor.
Absolutely changes this team. If you have a what we call normal Boots from last season, all of a sudden Wade opens up and he's knocking down an extra 3 threes a game.
Yep.
It changes drastically.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, Nuño.
Appreciate you, sir. All right, we'll come back with the fan show. We got Sutton in the house. We got Matt Browning in the house. Right now, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. They are Aggie owned and operated. With the friendliest staff and a personal touch, they offer a monthly membership. We'll give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station. 979-693-1150. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It's now time for the Fan
Show.
Thank you very much, guys. Fan Show is brought to you by Girard Construction, custom home builders for the Brazos Valley since 2002. They don't just build homes, they build relationships.
This is everyone's favorite segment all week long. I know it.
There haven't been that many complaints recently. Well, I haven't been here, so I don't know. Welcome, Sutton. Welcome, Matt. How are you guys?
We're good, man. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Ashtray Nuño, huh?
Yeah, sorry about that story.
No, I liked it.
Had you heard it before? Did you hear it?
No, I heard it.
Yeah, it's not my proudest moment.
Hey, you know what? We all do it. You know, I mean, you haven't touched it. You haven't taken a sip of alcohol since 2006.
Yeah, September 6, 2006, last time.
You remember the date?
It was
exactly.
My wife and I's anniversary, and it was the day she told me that it was right before my 30th birthday, right when she was telling me that we were pregnant. So
good for you, man.
Yeah,
good for you.
Yeah. So not since that day. Anyway, I didn't have a problem. For those of you wondering, I just quit because I'm wired like that. What's on your mind this morning?
The coaching change.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. So you went there just a little while ago about the possible chaos with Nick leaving and whether it's going to be Lanning or Sarkisian and the trickle down of that.
Mm-hmm.
But think about this as well. Not just the coaching changes, but every single time a head coach leaves a program, those kids
window?
can hit the transfer portal. So think about something. I don't think it's going to be Sarkisian, but just think if Sarkisian goes to Alabama, Arch decides, you know what, I really want to play with Sarkisian. I want to run that offense. And all of the different trickle down that's going to affect across the whole country.
Yep.
And I'm actually excited about it because it's going to be fun to watch.
I'm excited to. You know what I'm excited about? Anything that helps A&M. If this helps A&M, let's go.
I'm gonna say it right now. It's not gonna be Sark. I don't think it'll be Sark.
No,
I really don't think it'll be Sark. I mean, as much as and no one despises those guys that university over in Austin more than I do. But I mean, that's still as top tier a job as you can get. You're building it, and I mean the thing is my hope was simply, who wants to follow Saban? Who wants to follow that? What guy wants to follow Nick Saban into, I wouldn't want that job. I'd want to go somewhere and build something. I mean, that's just me. Maybe that's the way I'm wired, but
especially with the way college football's
my hope is that they would finally take a drop off, because they're not going to be able to get the guy they want.
Just think about that. $8 million guaranteed 3 years, $24 million to go and coach Alabama for 3 years, and you're telling me that you wouldn't take that job?
No, I'm not saying I wouldn't take it. I would, but again, I wouldn't take that job over the Texas job.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. That's what I'm saying.
Would you take it over Oregon?
Oregon, yeah, but the question. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's going to be Lanning. I mean, the reports are Lanning is literally in Tuscaloosa right now. That's all that.
Yeah, but it's already been shut down.
Has it already been shut down? So I mean, it could be somebody we're not even expecting. So hopefully it's Mark Stoops.
That'd be great.
That'd be funny.
But again, in today's college football world, it's not like it was a few years ago where a coaching change happens, you got to stay, right? And then you can show a little momentum. You can show, hey, look what we can do. We won, and then people stay. Now you're like, you know what? I'm out. Yeah. Like, you can leave now.
Well, it's the first thing I thought of when I heard the news yesterday was LT Overton.
Mm-hmm.
LT Overton leaves A&M, 5-star, one of the most coveted recruits that we got in 22. He goes to play for Saban, and now Saban's gone. So now he's looking around going, okay, I want to. And so I look at us like, do we want to come back? I mean, so
right.
You start thinking about all of those players that they've assembled there, and now that really all of the portal pretty much is almost done for this cycle, but those guys are going to be able to transfer around.
So they'll have some guys hit the portal too. But then
for sure.
It's also interesting to see that Belichick's probably done.
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll is done. So you're talking about three the elder statesmen, legends of in the football coaching world. I put Pete Carroll as a legend in the coaching world. He has a Super Bowl ring and 2 national championships. Yeah. I mean, Pete Carroll is as good a coach as there is out there. So,
well, and he's also handed the ball off to Marshawn Lynch in another Super Bowl.
Yeah, boy, you don't throw that ball there. I mean, hey, Belichick has one less, and Carroll has one more. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about 3, true legends that are an elder statesman who are probably leaving the game. Well, Belichick probably won't leave the game, but I doubt he'll head coach again. So, and you see that. I mean, you're talking about those are the 3, upper echelon, top tier guys in each of their sports. Yeah. And they're gone, and they're leaving, and so the sports world will look very different next year. When those kind of guys leave, you usually see a kind of a shift in the way things are done, and the people that you're going to follow in the future. Now I just need Popovich to do the same thing, and I can go back to cheering for my Spurs.
Well, hey, one of the interesting things about all of this is that there's going to be teams that benefit from this, and there's going to be teams that don't. I told OB at the top of the show, and he disagreed with me, right? No, everyone's going to benefit in some way, but some teams are going to really, really benefit. I'm disappointed that Texas and Oklahoma are not going to see our SEC. He was like, I don't care about them. I just want to win, which I agree. Mm-hmm. But I really wanted them to be like, this is what you guys have missed out the last 12 years on. Like this GOAT, this guy. And now what it allows is for little mini championship guys to be out there. I don't know how Sark's going to respond. I mean, Kirby's already Kirby. Like, what is going to happen with the rest of the league, the ripple effects of actual wins and losses. But I did want Texas and OU to experience that.
And I think they will. I think because, again, the coaching standpoint, yes, it is going to be – they're not going to have to face the Nick Saban, on a year in and year out basis like we had to the last, decade. But what they are going to have to deal with is the fact that the best recruits – I mean, every team in the SEC or the top half of the league is all in the top 25 of the recruiting rankings every year. You're playing against the best players in the country. And then if you go and look at the NFL draft, the best players come from the SEC. I don't think that's going to change. So they're going to get a rude awakening.
Yeah, but my on the line of Texas and Oklahoma, yes, they're not going to face the behemoth of Nick Saban, but there could be a trickle-down parity in the SEC. So Auburn's going to benefit. Ole Miss is going to benefit because some of these recruits aren't going to go play for Saban like a lockdown, like it has been. So there could be a level of parity to where every single week it's more competitive and more difficult to win that what they're facing than what we faced when we got into the league.
Let's talk about the balance of power. So Georgia's obviously up top.
Mm-hmm.
What is it going to look like? I mean, how much does A&M really benefit from this? How much does Texas really benefit from this? Like, just talk about the balance.
Well, there's got to be. I mean, Hugh Freeze, I'm sure, had a huge party last night at his house because now he is able to recruit some of the kids that he wasn't able to recruit in the state of Alabama. But not only that, Northern Florida, everything, even into Georgia. So he's going to benefit. I'm sure Lane Kiffin is just ecstatic.
You don't think he wants the gig, though?
Oh, he wants every gig.
Yeah, he does.
He absolutely wants every gig, but they're not going to give it to him for the same reason why we wouldn't want him here. But he's going to win there at Ole Miss. We've seen that with an 11-win season and a 10-win season. So he's going to continue to be dominant there.
There's no way a guy like Nick Saban retiring, someone of his status, that isn't going to have some effect, positive, negative, depending on which way it goes. I do want to say real quick, by the way, that had Georgia been in this playoff, they would have won the whole thing. I don't see anybody beating them. Next year in the 12 team, I do want to just make a quick case for Georgia. They won 2 back-to-back national championships, were completely undefeated. They go in and play the only team in the country that matches them in talent. Yeah. And get beat by a field goal in the last second. They're out, and they miss their chance to three-peat. A three-peat would have been, when was the last time we had a three-peat?
It was Minnesota in 19 whatever.
That would have been absolutely iconic. And
but
I hate
here's
it
the thing. They deserve to be in the playoffs in my eyes. I just don't know for who. I still think they were one of the 4 best teams in college football, if not the best team in college football.
Yeah.
but I don't know how to take somebody out.
Yeah, I mean, you could just look at them and say, okay, hey, I know Georgia's better than everyone else in here. Even though Bama just beat them, I still think if the Georgia and Bama play 10 times, Georgia's winning 8 of them.
Yep.
That will never happen again because we have the 12-team playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So that scenario will never happen again. The one thing that I do want to bring up as we talk about the 12-team playoff is we need to be done with the automatic bids, the champions winning and getting in. It needs to be the 12 best teams in the country. If 6 of them are from the SEC and 6 of them are from the Big Ten, so be it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't know how I feel about that because I think there are situations where an undefeated team that plays in a lesser conference should be given a chance.
Yeah, I mean, if you're only okay, I'm not opposed to that because it's like I mean, you look at that New York Giants team that beat the Patriots, the undefeated Patriots a few years ago. I mean, they wouldn't. I mean, they were a very low. The only reason they got a first round is because they won a weak NFC East that year, and then they ended up getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. So. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm okay with it. I mean, but a Big 12 team is if you take the Big 12 champ and throw them into a 12-team playoff, and they're the one team from the Big 12. I mean, it's not going to matter. They're going to get probably beat down as it is. But it doesn't have to be. You could throw one of each. I mean, you're of the Power Fives, one Big 12 team, one ACC team, and then the rest Big 10 and SEC. That'd be cool. So.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll come back. Let's talk a little Mike Elko transfer portal run. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And we will talk some basketball.
Oh, okay.
It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It is the Fan Show brought to you by Gerard Construction. No, but that's coming. It's coming. It's like coming soon.
I love it.
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio.
That is your God-given right.
America.
This
is our construction time, though. Did you know that? Okay, just making sure everybody knew. Gentlemen, let's get into the alcoholics. I don't know. I've been saying that today. I've been saying it a lot. OB said it. It's in my head. The awesome recruiting, the transfer palooza that we just had. Just what do you think about, like, I don't know all these players. Like, I haven't been following them like we have with Bronny for, like, when it's a high school kid, we've followed him for years.
Yeah.
Some of these guys I kind of know, don't, whatever. But I like what I'm reading.
Well, the job that TexAgs did over the last 2 weeks is just amazing. The amount of content, and I know, Bronny and Hal and Billy, are the face of it, but I know that there's an army of people that are supporting them. But how fast that you all were able to get out videos and interviews, and it was just amazing. So to me, I love the story of I was first get off my lawn type of guy when it came to the transfer portal. Didn't like it. However, seeing some of these kids come from smaller programs that have played well and that have earned their right to be at Texas A&M or a big-time football program, I think it's a great story. I love hearing like the kid from Houston, don't even know his name, coming here, that grew up and his favorite school was Texas A&M. They have the shirts with the 12th man on there, and it was a dream come true. So those stories that TexAgs was able to find and uncover, I think was just amazing. I don't think Mike Elko has slept since he's come here. He is outworking people. And I would say that's not only, I'm sure he's got a staff that's outworking, other assistant coaches that are outworking. So the amount of work that he has done to not only change the roster and fill the holes, but I think he's also changing the culture with bringing in these guys and having competition. So I'm super excited, and it was actually a lot of fun to watch the threads and to read everything that TexAgs was doing over these last 10 days, and I'm super excited. I'm really back to being really excited about next year.
Yeah, I mean, my phone kept blowing up, like with the TexAgs text message, every time, it was just one after another, all weekend. It was awesome. I'm like, oh, cool. I was like, who's this guy? So you had to go and read Ronnie's little write-up on him, and that, but I mean, we know who Scourton was, and we know who E.J. Smith is. We followed E.J. Smith in high school, and we recruited him heavily here and all that. So we do know some, but for the most part, I don't know most of these guys. I don't know who they are. I don't know much about them, but
if their staff is evaluating them at a high level, then I'm good.
I think I'm good. I'm good with what they're seeing and what they know. I mean, these guys are football guys. I mean, they know who these players are. Yeah. They've watched them. They watch tape. They know who they are. And we got old. And here's the nice thing. The thing about the transfer portal is a lot of these guys are plug and play kind of guys. These aren't guys that have come in and develop in a lot of cases. These guys are guys that can come in. They're already older. They've already been in a college, strength conditioning program before, and they have experience, and that to me is awesome.
And it also seems to me like it wasn't we were taking best available.
Right.
These were defensive backs. These were linebackers. These were we needed backup offensive line. I mean, we were players with experience to fill our holes and our weaknesses, and he did a great job.
Yeah, we got starters and depth out of the transfer portal this year, and I'm a fan.
And it feels like our defense didn't lose a beat. Like you got some guys that can get after the quarterback. You've got some secondary help. Yeah. Like the issues that we were worried about have been, I think, rectified. We'll see, right? I'm excited about Will. I look through that list. I'm excited about Nick Saban. I'm excited about all of them.
Yeah, Will Lee. Yeah.
Will Lee, DeRicky Wright, Cyrus Allen, like all these names. Like, I'm excited to get that. Here's the most, and I said this the other day. This is the fan in me. I only like the portal when it works to our advantage, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So I love it right now.
The portal giveth and the portal taketh away.
So right now I like it, but I don't like people just leaving for the bag, right? That part of it I don't like. I understand it. Like, you're 18 years old and somebody's going to offer you $300,000. I understand it. But
Well, but if you look at what we've lost and you look at what we've gained, I honestly think that what we have gained outweighs what we've lost.
Yeah.
I truly do.
Yeah.
Not only numbers wise, but positions of need. And so that's the way that I really
and I see it too as a stand. I mean, it's tough to lose a Walter Nolan and an LT Overton and a Evan Stewart and all those kind of guys. We're talking 5-star talent that walked out the door. I get it, right? And that's tough. But at the same time, to add these guys that, maybe, better within the program, maybe, that aren't holding on to that old stuff,
Right.
that we can get a change of pace within that locker room. That to me, I think that's just as important.
Gentlemen, that's going to do it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Ashtray Nuño.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate situation.
I like it though. I like to hear that you're human, like the rest of us.
I am
He
human.
does bleed. He's not just the chiseled out of stone statue of David over here.
Whatever. I got to hit. Never mind. We'll talk about it later. Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.
Stick around for the rewind. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Thursday. Mañana on the program, Kevin Smith, Billy Lucci, Olin Buchanan, Mark French, and you. I'm using my hands a lot. It's TexAgs Radio. We'll see you mañana.